Aita for going no contact with my dad and siblings after a big fight where I accused them of replacing mom because they want to be taken care of. 6 years ago, my mom was diagnosed with a rare form of stomach cancer. I 22M was 16 at the time and the only one who stepped up to take care of her until she died. My dad tried to talk her into carrying on as normal and take care of everything and everyone because he didn't think he could. He'd get so mad at mom for being too tired or too sore and stiff to get out of bed. He always made excuses to not drive her to chemo and other medical appointments. He broke down sobbing when she went for surgery, and not because he was so scared of losing her. It was because he didn't want to handle everything while she was out of commission. And he even asked if they couldn't figure out ways to treat her where she could be normal. In the final 3 months of her life, she was bedbound, and he was either at work or he was sitting around the house complaining about how nothing was done. My brother was 15 and my sister was 13 at the time. So it wasn't like they could do a whole lot, which I get, and they were kids too, so it shouldn't have been on them. But they complained about not having the same food when mom was healthy. They used to ask her why she didn't make them their favorite snacks and everything. She could be puking up her guts or unable to move in bed, and they wanted more from her. They were always getting mad at me for not keeping things like they were before. Then they'd accuse me of hogging mom, but wouldn't go and sit with her. Whenever I tried to let them talk to me, they'd complain about all the stuff they hated me for, and would still say I was taking away their time with mom. The last thing my brother said to her was why couldn't she get out of bed to make him a birthday cake early, so he'd have one last mom-made birthday cake, and it wasn't his birthday, hence the early comment. After mom died, everyone was having a shitty time, and I got shit for having one too. They would yell at me for pulling away from them. They yelled at me for dropping out of school to get a job where I was doing instead of sitting and learning, for not taking care of them, and for telling them to fuck off. But dad could lose his job, could get drunk and sleep around, and that was fine. He could bring random women over and fuck them within weeks of mom dying, but fuck me. My brother could get into fights in school where he almost had criminal charges brought against him. He could literally steal from everyone upon it, and he could even steal some of mom's things to pawn, but that was also fine. Oh, and he got suspended twice and was so close to expulsion. My sister could smash stuff, bully her friends and other kids at school, and spend $5,000 on one of dad's credit cards without permission. That was all fine, but I was expected to be better and not grieve. I was told I had stolen everyone else's time with mom, that I was the reason mom was dead. They said I ruined everything. So I moved out and stayed away, and then dad met someone else and married her, and then I was getting shit for not meeting our new mom. My siblings were calling him mom from the jump, and everyone slotted her into their life where mom left. I was called selfish for not doing the same. They said I was ruining the family and the family vibe. That new mom was feeling hurt that her oldest son wouldn't even meet her. I was told over and over how amazing she was and how she took care of them so good and did everything for them. After more than a year of that, I lost it, and I told them if their selfish asses wanted to replace mom so they could be taken care of, then go ahead, but I never would. And I said I hoped they didn't live to regret acting like mom was so easy to replace, because that was exactly what they did. They replaced her. They acted like she wasn't important after all the shit they gave her, and then me. Then I went no contact. It's been over a year now since that. They were trying to get in touch, but couldn't and didn't believe me when I told them I was done. But after a while they wondered why they couldn't reach me, so they had my uncle ask, and I confirmed I was no contact. He was shocked. He asked me why, and I told him I was working on myself and wanted nothing to do with them after everything. Then he said I should cut them some slack, and I told him no, because they cut me none, and they were awful. That the new mom stuff was it, and I was done. He told them, and he shared how mad they are, and he shared how he felt I was being too harsh. I don't get why I have to be the one to accept all that shit, and why I need to be Mr. fucking perfect. But maybe I am an AH. He also brought up when I accused them of replacing mom, and he said that was going too far. So AITA for everything. Comments. Commenter 1. Fuck all of them, and fuck your uncle too. I'm sorry, op. Reply. Thank you. I miss my mom so much. And now knowing my uncle can't be trusted is rough. He was the last one I talked to. Commenter 2. Have you told him really specific details of how they all acted while your mother was so sick? If not, tell him. Tell him everything. Then, if he still tells you to cut them some slack, you know where he stands. I am so sorry you've had to endure this. NTA at all. Reply. I did after the fact. When it was happening, and immediately after I just shut down too much. But when I moved out and away and he contacted me, I told him everything, and I thought he was a safe person. But it turns out he would find ways to defend it all anyway. Commenter 3. NTA. Fuck all of them. Uncle should be next on the no-contact list if he keeps putting pressure on you. I hope you're in therapy. This is a huge thing to process on your own. Reply. I started therapy in the last year. I had been trying to find a therapist for a few months before that. It's rough, and I'm still not through the hardest parts yet. But it's helping. Commenter 4. You're the only human being with brains and heart in your bio family aside from your mom. I'm a hospice RN, and while your dad's behavior isn't common, I have seen it before. One patient whose husband expected her to jump up at his beck and call and cook and clean. She ended up being cared for at her brother's home. Her husband would visit very rarely and talk about all the things she should be doing, but no longer could. Deeply narcissistic or deeply in denial, as if pretending she could do it all meant she really could. If I were you, I'd continue to stay no contact. You know, as soon as your dad or his new wifey or a sibling gets sick, they'd be expecting you to drop everything and hop to it. Find a family for yourself that puts you first. NTA. Reply. I hate that this happens. I've seen it mentioned in a few online spaces too, and it always kills me. And the thing is, we can never fully know if it's deep narcissism or deep denial. Either way, it's so unfair to those who suffer at the hands of it in their final moments of life. Commenter 5. NTA. Go forth and form your own family of people who are worthy because they take care of you as much as you take care of them. I am so sorry for your loss. Bless you for taking care of Mom. I know it meant more than she could express. Reply. I just wish I could have taken care of her as she recovered. But knowing I was with her to the end and did my best, it helps me sleep at night. Stories number 2. Mom had an affair 18 years ago. I 18 am the product of it. My dad just informed me of all this and told me he will not pay for my college, while my siblings got their college experience paid by our dad. Pretty much the title. I have no idea how to process all this, and I am completely unprepared for what lies ahead. Both my older brother and sister went to the same college. My brother graduated 2 years ago. My sister is set to graduate in 2 years. Both had their college paid by our dad. Dad paid all their college expenses, including rent, food, their cars, pocket money, you name it. My brother has a job now, his own place, lives together with his fiancée, and has his life together. My sister already has a good-paying job, and my dad still pays for almost everything for her. I got accepted to the same college, which was always the plan, and was looking forward to talk with my parents about the next steps, and ask them to help me the same they did for my siblings. I always assumed they had money put aside for my college the way they had for my siblings. Instead, I was met with a story about my mom's cheating, how I am the result of her cheating, and how my dad is not willing to support me anymore moving forward. Dad told me that Mom had 18 years to let me know and prepare me for the future, but obviously she never did. He said it was never his place to say anything since I am not his son, and didn't want to interfere with Mom's parenting. Apparently my grandparents know I am not Dad's biological son, but they haven't bothered to tell me anything either. My siblings had no idea, and they are as surprised as I am because there was never a hint of anything being off. I might be naive, but I always thought I had a great relationship with my dad. We go to see sports together, we go fishing together, he tutored me when I had difficulties with math. Dad is an engineer, he taught me to drive. I never got a hint he stores resentment towards me. I mean, he gave me my name, and has explained what my name means, and he was very proud of it. It's a story he tells from time to time. He likes to talk about stuff like that about me. My mom has never said a word about anything, and apparently she was supposed to have the talk with me, but she never did. I feel abandoned and unprepared for what lies ahead. I am not even sure I will be able to go to college anymore. I always assumed my parents will pay for it. I never had a job, and I am not sure what job I can even get to support me through college. I have no idea how to apply for loans. All my mom has done is cry and apologize. But nothing of substance. She has no idea how to help me. I don't even know if I am welcomed home anymore. It's all up in the air. I feel shame leaving my room, and if I will be asked to move out, I don't know where to go. I don't have any savings, maybe $400 put together. I am angry at my mom. I am confused about where I stand with my dad. There's a man out there who is my father that never wanted to have anything to do with me. I feel rejected, and I have no idea what to do to fix this situation. Anyone have any idea what to do here? Do I apologize to my dad? What do I say to him? I've been stuck in my room these past few days, reading and browsing Reddit. I have no idea what to do. Edit. Comments are coming in faster than I can reply, but I am making a list with all the advice about financial aid, health insurance, getting my own phone plan, etc., things I didn't even think about before. Thank you, everyone. I will try to answer as much as I can, but there's more comments than I can handle. Additional context from comments. Did your dad know from the beginning that you were born from an affair? Is his name listed on your birth certificate? He knew from the beginning, as far as I understand. It's not recent news. He knew for 18 years. I tried talking with mom, but she hasn't been very helpful, bursts out into tears, and no productive discussion can be had. Until a few days ago, as far as I knew, he was my dad in any and all aspects. His name is on my birth certificate. I'm 18, a few months past it, not sure what legal responsibility he still has. Are your parents already divorced? Or did they just split up? Did they stay together for the kids? No, my parents are not divorced. I don't think they stayed together for the kids. As far as I can see, they've been very loving with each other. Go on dates, go on vacations together. Dad always takes mom with him on his business trips. I don't think this makes a lot of sense. Does your father resent you? I don't know if he resents me, or what is happening, to be honest. We've had a normal relationship, as far as I can tell. He was there for me always, and I can compare my childhood to that of my friends. I think mine was better. Did your parents do a DNA test to confirm paternity? I don't know, but Dad seemed pretty sure of it. And by how my mom reacted and reacts right now, I suppose they know it to be true for sure. Does your older siblings know? I only talked with them about me not being dad's natural son. They don't know about the college thing yet. They are each out of town for a few more days. We'll talk with them when they come back. My siblings are not here right now. My sister is on a trip with her boyfriend, and will be gone for another week. My brother is away with his fiancée to visit her parents. They are semi-aware of the situation, but I only talked with them about me not being dad's natural son. I guess sooner or later they will have something to say. I don't know. I'll try and see if my brother can offer me a place to stay if my parents kick me out. I don't know. Ask your bio dad for help. I don't know who that man is. He was never in my life. I can't just show up in someone else's life. I'm your son. Money for college, please. I don't even know if my parents know where he lives anymore. Didn't sound they kept in touch. All I was told was that mom had an affair. I am the product of that affair. Here we are 18 years later. Can your mom help you? I've only heard my dad's side of things. Mom isn't really talking with me right now. Mom doesn't work. She stayed home and raised us, so she doesn't have any money of her own as far as I know. I don't know. I am not really aware of our financial situation. How are your parents with each other? No indication they may have a divorce anytime soon was ever obvious to me. 2 months ago, they had their 27th wedding anniversary. They went to Spain. They had a blast. Not so long ago, I stumbled onto them in the kitchen acting like horny teenagers, hands all over one another, giggling, and so on. And this is not an isolated instance. They are intimate and display their intimacy quite often. Kisses, hugs, call each other during the day, go on dates, go on vacations together. If dad has a business trip, he always takes mom with him, and so on. These are not people that faked it till they raised the kids as others have suggested, or people that are on the edge of divorce, but put up a nice veil to hide the truth. Someone suggested we may be bankrupt, and this is why the situation is unfolding as it is. But that doesn't make a lot of sense. We are definitely not behaving like a family that is bankrupt. I have no idea. Update 1. Sorry to disappear. Nothing bad happened to me. Managed to talk with my mom yesterday, but I chickened out halfway through what I had to say. The good news is that I am not being kicked out or disowned, etc. Thank you for all your support, everyone. I will follow through and call financial aid at my college in a few hours and take it from there. My grandpa had a stroke a week ago, and my dad is helping my grandma with setting up a live-in nurse, so he wasn't around yesterday. I will let you know how I manage. Thank you again. Update 2. Within first post, my sister is aware of everything and told me not to worry. She has my back and I have her support. I promise to update when and if there are any significant changes. Right now I need to support my grandma. Thank you again to everyone. Update. Mom had an affair 18 years ago. I 18 am the product of it. My dad just informed me of all this and told me he will not pay for my college, while my siblings got their college experience paid by our dad. The reaction to my original post put an uncomfortable amount of pressure on me to write this update. I am not sure if it's what you want to hear, but things are more or less back to a normal state if you consider other events. Unfortunately, my grandpa died at the beginning of this week, and I am still processing it. I did manage to talk with both my mom and dad, and I know where I now stand in relation with them, as well as my siblings. I am not sure I would have had the courage to say what I had to say if not for the amount of help and advice in the comments. I think it is safe to say both my parents love me, and what happened 2 weeks ago was an overreaction to a fight between my parents. It makes me uncomfortable knowing I am not aware of my own environment, but a stranger in the comments can tell me what's happening in my life with only a few lines of text from my side. A lot of comments were spot on about what is happening in my life. I have so far went through 40% I estimate of the comments, but I have given up. There are too many for me to keep up with. The conclusion is that I am definitely going to college. It will be the college I have always wanted to go to, and I will have the same experience as my siblings. The money to pay for all this already exists. My family is not going bankrupt as suggested. My dad just had a mental breakup with all the issues around my grandpa and his fight with my mom. Even if my dad would have went through with his decision, my grandma let me know my grandpa left me and my siblings a sum we will have to split between the three of us, but enough to put me through college. What started the entire scandal was poor timing on my part. My parents just had a fight, and then I showed up, hey, pay for my college. My parents were talking about us, their children, and mom said something to the lines of to think you wanted to split up when I came back pregnant, or something like that. I was not there. This is what she told me. I guess dad was talking how proud he was of his children, and mom wanted to express her gratitude for dad raising me as his own, and dad took it as the affair was the best decision I ever made or something like that. And their fight escalated from there, and mom told dad something like, what makes you think any of them are yours? Yeah, it went downhill from there fast. Shortly after that my dumb face showed up, and here I am. Dad and mom have since made up. Mom is still a mess. Dad is not handling my grandpa's passing away too well either. I did talk with my siblings, and my sister raised a storm and wrote it here while blasting my parents on the phone. Haha. My brother was calmer, but made his feelings known in no uncertain terms as well once he got back home. My grandpa passing away sort of kept spirits calm, I guess, and shifted the focus to dealing with that. Reading the comments was a mind-opening experience. I felt unprepared for the world out there. Many have asked how I had no idea how to apply for loans or grants. Well, in my defense, when you go year after year after year knowing you have nothing to worry about, that your college is good as paid for already, you don't really have to worry about anything else. Of course I knew there are loans and other things students have to be aware of, but it didn't apply to me. I went from I am going to college. Can't wait till you're not my son, and I will not pay for your college in less than 24 hours. Others have been prepared for this. At the very least they knew they had to get a loan, or get a job, look for a place to live, and so on. For me it was a sudden change in reality. Going through the comments I managed to put a list together with various tips and tricks, what jobs are available for students, how to find a place to live, how to get a credit card, a bank account, a cell phone plan, and so on. Really good stuff that I think, even after the return to normal, will help me. My parents have been called more names than they go by, and that was uncomfortable to read, and I haven't even read all comments. I can't even imagine what else lies in the comments. Waiting. Dad is very sorry, apologetic, about his reaction and behavior. I understand his reaction, but I still feel hurt by it. I understand he was not in the best place of mind, but I can't control my feelings either. We will be all right, and this hasn't irreparably damaged our relationship. Mom hasn't handled everything that well, but she is coming around, and she answered some more questions for me. When Mom had an affair years ago and got pregnant with me, my parents started divorce. Mom moved in with the man she had the affair with, but after a few months that guy decided he wants nothing to do with it. He kicked Mom out, and she had nowhere to go. So my grandparents took her in, because she was still the mother of their nephew's grandkids. I am getting a lot of heat for this mistake, but no, in my family's culture, grandparents call their grandkids nephews as well. Mom and Dad got back together. After a lot of work, Dad took me as his own, and that's my life since then. The man who was my natural father is not in the picture anymore. Dad didn't really know who he is, and Mom hasn't heard or seen him ever since. He was fully aware Mom was pregnant with his child. I guess he had more important things to do. But it doesn't sound like he was about to cure world hunger. She met him in a bar, not at a fundraiser. And I don't feel a need to know any more about who he is. I thought about the matter the last 2 weeks, since I've been aware of everything, and haven't really felt a desire to know who he is, where he is, if he is still alive, if I have other siblings out there. I was suggested to go and buy a DNA kit from 23andMe. Maybe I can find him that way, but I think I will avoid doing this specifically so I don't find him or he finds me. As far as I care, I have a mom and dad and a brother and a sister, and that's my family. Moving forward, I do plan of getting a job and becoming more independent, but not in an attempt to distance myself from my family, but to feel like I would not be lost in the world if my family suddenly disappears. My mom admits I've been babied way more than my siblings, and that they should have prepared me more for what's coming next. I did learn where I stand with my family, and it's safe to say that I am loved, and I have options. I thought I am isolated, but my world is wider than I thought. Grandparents, siblings, my aunt, my cousins, all have my back. I think my parents are human, and they make mistakes, and even though this was not their greatest moment, I think I will look at everything as nothing more than a weak moment in an otherwise wonderful relationship. Thank you. Edit. In my family's cultural background, grandparents call their grandkids nephews as well. Stop calling me names. It was not a mistake, please. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Sorry about your grandpa, but I'm relieved it ended on a good note. It looks like you've already sorted out how you are going to deal with this from here. Thanks for the update and good luck. Commenter 2. Yeah, he definitely made good choice to not distance himself from family and to become more independent. Despite the small blemishes, they have treated him well. Sometimes your real father to you is not your real father. Commenter 3. I just want to say my sister raised a storm and wrote it here is an amazing turn of phrase. Commenter 4. That and my parents have been called more names than they go by were my two favorite expressions in this post. Commenter 5. Sorry, OP, but a big part of becoming an adult is learning that your parents are just flawed human beings. Sounds like you were collateral damage because your parents could never resolve your mom's infidelity. You will all get past it. Let your dad know if you can that you understand this week has been horribly stressful and that people say things they don't mean. So sorry about your grandfather. Commenter 6. Your last paragraph is spot on. It's a sobering experience when you realize your parents are winging things just like everyone else. They're human, imperfect, screw up, hurt the ones they love. Same as all of us. Sorry you had to find out the way you did. That experience would have sucks. But hopefully you all move on from there and keep loving each other. Good luck. Reply. This is what my sister said, but that didn't stop her from making her feelings on the matter very clear to my parents. Haha. I love my sister. My brother too, but he is more calculated and tempered. My sister is lightning in a bottle, but nobody put her in the bottle. She went there of her own volition. But when she decides to open the lid a little, oh God, it's a sight. Stories number 3. My father told my fiancé he could do better, so I refused to let him walk me down the aisle. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here we are. I 25F am engaged to Ryan 27M, and what should be one of the happiest times of my life has turned into a family nightmare because of my dad. Last weekend, Ryan and I went over to my parents' house for dinner. My mom, Linda 52F, had cooked a big meal. My dad, Robert 54M, was in a good mood watching football before we ate, and everything felt pretty normal. My sister Megan 29F was there too, joking around with Ryan while we set the table. At one point, my dad asked Ryan to help him grab something from the garage. I didn't think twice about it. He always ropes people into helping him with random things. But when they came back, I noticed Ryan was quieter. He smiled when my mom asked him a question, but it didn't reach his eyes. I figured maybe he was just tired from work. Later that night, after we left, I asked him what was wrong. He hesitated, and then said, Emily, I need to tell you something, but it's not easy to say. My stomach dropped. Then he told me that while they were in the garage, my dad basically told him that he could do better than me, that I was lucky anyone wanted to marry me, and that Ryan should think about marrying someone prettier. I swear, it felt like my heart cracked in half when he said it. I've always known my dad could be blunt, sometimes downright rude, but I didn't expect him to go after me like that. And to say it to the man I'm about to marry? I was embarrassed, humiliated, and furious all at once. The next day, I drove over to my parents' house and confronted him. He was on the couch with a beer in hand, watching football like nothing had happened. I just stood there and asked, Dad, what exactly did you say to Ryan last night? He barely looked up and said, Oh, that? I was just joking. Can't your fiancé take a joke? That was it. That was his excuse. I lost it. I told him flat out that it wasn't a joke. It was cruel. He actually had the nerve to roll his eyes at me and say I was being too sensitive, that Ryan should man up, and not run to me with everything. I told him right then that he wasn't walking me down the aisle. His face went red, and he snapped. You're going to disrespect me and tradition over one comment? You're punishing me for being honest. I left crying. My mom followed me to the door and gave me her usual, "Honey, that's just how your father is." But I'm so tired of hearing that. That's not an excuse. He's been just like that my whole life, making mean comments and then hiding behind jokes. Now my family is split. My mom is begging me to let it go. She keeps saying I'll regret this when my dad is gone one day, and that this is a once-in-a-lifetime moment I can't take back. My dad, meanwhile, is pissed. He texted me saying, "If I'm not walking you down the aisle, maybe I won't come at all." My sister Megan is on my side. She told me, "Emily, Dad has always been like this. You don't owe him the most important moment of your life just because of tradition." Ryan has been nothing but supportive, telling me he doesn't care who walks me down the aisle as long as I'm happy. And honestly, I feel like I made the right choice. Walking me down the aisle isn't a right, it's an honor. And my dad doesn't deserve that honor if he thinks so little of me. I've decided that Megan will walk me instead. When I told her, she started crying and said it was the biggest honor of her life. That moment meant more to me than anything my dad has said in years. I know my wedding day will be bittersweet. I'll probably cry when I think about what my dad said, and when I see that empty seat if he decides not to show. But I'll also be proud of myself for standing up for my worth. Because if my own father can't respect me, then he doesn't get to be part of the most meaningful walk of my life. And if that means breaking tradition, then so be it. Update. My father told my fiancé he could do better, so I refused to let him walk me down the aisle. Hi everyone. It's been a while since I posted about my dad telling my fiancé Ryan that he could do better than me, and how I told my dad he wouldn't be walking me down the aisle. A lot has happened since then, and I wanted to share an update because I honestly never expected so many people to care, but your comments really helped me feel less crazy. So, after my post, things at home got tense. My mom kept calling, saying I should just let it go, that I'd regret not having my dad walk me, blah blah blah. Every phone call ended with me crying because she kept making me feel guilty. At one point she said, "You'll never understand until you're a parent. He just wants the best for you." Which made me want to scream, because how does insulting your daughter's looks equal wanting the best? Meanwhile, my dad didn't reach out much. When he did, it was short texts like, "Still think you're overreacting." No apology, no accountability. Just more of the same dismissive attitude. The wedding planning moved forward without him. Ryan and I decided that my sister Megan would walk me down the aisle, and when I told her, she cried again. She even started joking that she was going to practice her aisle walk with weights so she wouldn't trip. It made me laugh when I needed it most. Then came the real blow-up. About a month before the wedding, my dad finally sat me down. He said, "Emily, I've been thinking. If I'm not walking you down the aisle, I don't see the point of coming at all." I just stared at him. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told him, "If your only role at my wedding is about being seen and honored, then maybe you're right. Maybe you shouldn't come." That was the first time I really stood my ground without crying. He stormed out of my apartment after that. My mom kept begging me to make amends and said, "He'll regret this one day." But honestly, it felt like I was the only one who cared about the regret. Fast forward to the wedding day. I'd accepted by then that my dad probably wouldn't show. Walking down the aisle with Megan was one of the most emotional moments of my life. She squeezed my arm the whole way, and when we got to Ryan, he mouthed, "You look perfect." I swear I'll never forget that. And then, I spotted my dad. He came. He didn't walk me, didn't try to make a scene, just sat next to my mom with his arms crossed like a sulking teenager. No smile. No congratulations. Just there. During the reception, he didn't say a word to me or Ryan. He talked to some cousins, drank a few beers, then left early. My mom tried to brush it off as him being emotional, but honestly, it felt like he came just to make a point that he was still part of the day, even if he wasn't happy. Since the wedding, I've gone low contact. Megan and I are closer than ever, and Ryan's family has been amazing. His mom even told me, "Honey, we're your family too now." That made me cry. As for my dad, we text sometimes, but it's surface level. No apology, no acknowledgement, just "how's work?" or "saw the game" type stuff. Part of me hopes one day he'll realize what he did and actually say he's sorry. But another part of me knows I can't spend my life waiting for my dad to change. So yeah, I got married without him by my side, and guess what? It was still the happiest day of my life, and I don't regret it for a second. Final update. My father told my fiancée he could do better. Hi everyone. I wasn't sure if I'd ever write this, but it's been about 8 months since my wedding, and I figured some closure might be nice for those who followed the original post and my first update. So, here's where things stand. After the wedding, my dad and I stayed low contact. He didn't reach out much, and when he did, it was always surface level. No mention of the wedding, no mention of the hurtful comments he made, no acknowledgement of why I didn't let him walk me down the aisle. Just, how's work? Or, did you see the weather this week? It was like he wanted to pretend the whole thing never happened. For a while, I held out hope that maybe, just maybe, he'd eventually apologize. But months went by and nothing. What hurt more was seeing how much effort he put into talking to Megan compared to me. She told me he constantly calls her, asks about her life, and even invited her and her boyfriend over for dinner multiple times. With me? Crickets. Finally, about 3 months ago, I decided to stop waiting. I wrote him a long letter. Not angry, not mean, just honest. I told him that his words to Ryan broke something in me, that his refusal to apologize left me with no choice but to protect myself, and that I needed to step back from the relationship until he could own up to what he said. I mailed it, and nothing. No call, no text, no letter back. Silence. My mom eventually called and said she'd read the letter. He showed it to her and told me I was being dramatic. That was when I realized they're both never going to see it the way I do. My dad doesn't think he did anything wrong, and my mom will always excuse him. The difference is, now I've made peace with that. Ryan and I are focusing on building our life. We bought a small house together, I got promoted at work, and we've been talking about starting a family in the next couple of years. His parents treat me like their own daughter. His dad even joked, "I'll walk you down the aisle at your vow renewal if you want." That made me laugh, but it also made me realize how lucky I am to have them. As for my dad, I don't hate him. I don't even wish him ill. I just don't chase him anymore. If one day he wakes up and realizes what he lost, then maybe we'll talk. But if not, that's on him. My wedding was still the happiest day of my life, and it turns out, not having him walk me down the aisle didn't ruin anything. It actually made me realize I'm stronger than I thought. So yeah, that's the final update. I'm married, happy, and at peace. And if anyone reading this is stuck in the same situation, waiting for a parent to finally be the person you need them to be, just know, it's okay to stop waiting. Thanks for reading. Stories number 4. Aita for kicking my parent out and saying this is why I was so fucked up as a kid. I had my parents over for dinner this weekend 60s, and after my daughter 10 asked if she could play us a song she had been practicing on her keyboard, she gets lessons. It wasn't perfect, few missed notes, a couple pauses, but she did really well. She looked up at the end, massive smile, and I started clapping and my parents started fucking laughing. Not just a little chuckle. A massive fucking belly laugh. Them both. My mom asked if it was her first time playing it, and my dad said it had to have been. A dog could have played that better. It was like my daughter was shrinking on the spot, and she looked down and said no. I've had 2 lessons, but doing it with 2 hands is hard, and they just laughed even fucking harder. I just stood up, took their cups and said leave. Now, my mom tried to say about how they hadn't finished their drinks. They wanted to hear another song, etc., and said get your stuff and get the fuck out of my house right now. My dad started doing this huffing thing he does when someone dares to speak up to him, and my mom said that there was no need to be like this. That I can't protect her all the time, and she preparing my daughter for the real world. I said it's not teaching the real world. They're just nasty little bullies picking on children, and shit like this is why I was so fucked up as kid. Now leave. They got their stuff and left. I sat with my daughter and explained how proud of her I was and how well she was doing. To ignore them. They were just being cruel because they don't know any other way to be, and asked if she could please play it again, which she did. On the Sunday I messaged and said that until they can behave like decent human beings that we're taking a break away from them. My dad replied that it was my choice, but he didn't realize he raised me to be so precious. Now my lovely brown-nosing golden child of a sister is getting involved. She phoned me today with my parents' version of events telling me, I was a nasty piece of work and should never speak to my parents that way. That I'm wrapping my child in cotton wool and blah blah blah. I just told her to go fuck herself and hung up. I'm not asking if I'm in the wrong for standing up for my daughter. I'll always do that, but I did go pretty 0-100. I kicked them out straight away. I swore at them and in front of my daughter. I did raise my voice at the end when I said leave. I was and still am angry. I don't think I'd even accept an apology from them at this point. This behavior isn't new, it's decades old. But this is the first time it affected my daughter. Did I go too far? React too much? Should I have tried to be calmer? Talk it out. I don't know, Aita. Edit. Lots of people think I'm a mom, lol. Nope, single dad. Also, thank you all for your comments. Calming the anger I felt and making me feel less shit for the way I reacted. Edit 2. I really appreciate all the comments. Even the ones calling me Mama Bear, lol. I never doubted I was in the right for standing up for my daughter. Just how I went about it. I'm gonna sit and talk with my daughter about it all either tomorrow after school or on the weekend. My parents and sister can just disappear for all I care right now. To all the commenters that said they wish they had someone like me when they were younger, I get it, man. I really do. I hope you got someone now or are able to be that someone. Reading all these comments changed my anger into sadness that I'm not alone with the shitty parents. Thanks for sharing and thanks for the comments, guys, even the trolls. You were great. Also, please stop giving awards. It's a throwaway. Don't waste your money. Edit 3. Really appreciate all the comments and DMs. But my phone's going a bit mad with it all, so I'm gonna delete the account. I'm gonna keep the post up though cause people have posted a bunch of links I'd like to look into this weekend. Thanks all. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'm so sorry you were raised by those people, yet have not normalized their behavior. NTA. Reply. The way they were and how it affected me is why I will never ever normalize it. I stopped doing so many things out of a shame I should have never felt, and my daughter will not be the same. Downvoted commenter. Didn't stop you from exposing your own child to it though, did it? Stop being a shitty parent and don't allow them anywhere near your child again. Reply. They never treated my daughter like they did me before that weekend. I would never have allowed it. And the moment they did, I stopped it. I wasn't asking if I was wrong for stopping it, just how I went about doing so. Downvoted commenter 2. I said it's not teaching the real world. They're just nasty little bullies picking on children, and shit like this is why I was so fucked up as kid. Now leave. Unless this was a lie, you knew who they were. Stop being a shitty parent and take responsibility for your own actions. Reply. Yes to me. But never my sister, never my nieces, never my daughter. I put it down to being a boy in a family that wanted girls. And I had a girl, a beautiful, clever, amazing girl. How would I ever think they would act like this? Commenter 2. NTA. You are correct. They are just nasty little bullies picking on children. What normal human would belittle a child's attempt to perform for them? I know 3 people who never need to darken your door again. Reply. It was how they always were. Anything I did while growing up was picked at or laughed at. I couldn't let my daughter feel how I did. Were OOP's parents that way with his sister? Reply. Fuck no. She could never do any wrong, and even her getting DS was worth applause in their eyes. Not much has changed. She's still Little Miss Perfect to them. Commenter 3. NTA, you're a goddamn hero. If your parents think that's an acceptable way to talk to a child, they had it coming. Bullies always whine when the tables are turned. At most, you might want to talk to your daughter about how they've always been like this. A confrontation was bound to happen. She may blame herself or wonder if you'll yell at her like that someday. Knowing there's a history would help her understand. At 10, she'll have encountered bullies already, but may not know they don't change when they grow up. Reply. Thanks for your comment. Didn't think of that. Definitely don't want my daughter thinking ill ever react that way at her. Commenter 4. NTA. If you still want a relationship with your sister, you might consider telling her what really happened. By her reaction, you will know if she is someone to keep in your life or not. Since you mentioned she only got your parents' version. Reply. Even if she had my version, I doubt she'd change her mind. I can already hear the well, your daughter should practice more. She's like a mini mom. OOP responds to a comment about his musical background. Reply. I joined a choir as a preteen. My parents supported it and came to my first show. They then laughed at how my mouth moved and how my face was while I sang. Showed videos and pictures to family so they could laugh too. I quit it not long after. Parents burning the passion fucking hurts. I'm so happy for you being able to find it again. Thank you for your comment. Commenter 5. My parents started fucking laughing. NTA. What massive cunts. I'm shocked you've kept them in your life if treating people with this level of derision is commonplace for them. Reply. They haven't been like this since I hit around 20. No supportive, but not mocking or mean, no. And never anything against my daughter. I would never have let them around her otherwise. Update. Aita for kicking my parents out and saying this is why I was so fucked up as a kid. We cut contact with parents and sister. Parents kept messaging that I was being overprotective, didn't know how to raise a child. I should look at how well I've grown with how they raised me. Sister still thought I'm committing some massive crime by talking to my parents that way, not agreeing with them, etc. Been about 9 months since last messages. They've been blocked, and any fam that messages about them has warning if they continue, they'll be blocked by Nan and Uncle Steve. Got my daughter a piano second-hand off Gumtree. Dear fuck, are they expensive? Just over $5K for a small Yamaha. Then almost $1.5K to bring it up to scratch keys and wires. And another £130 to tune it. Pianos are expensive. Probably ripped off. Ick. She gives it up. I might actually cry, lol. She's 11 now. Has lessons twice a week, which also make my bank cry. But TBH, I think she might be the next Mozart, only piano person I can think of. She practices all the time. I have a partner now, and he's equally as supportive as me. She always grins at the applause at the end of her shows fortnightly to monthly. Thanks for all the previous love, supportive comments, and pointing in the right direction. Sorry for all the wasted awards. Don't put any on this. It's another throwaway. I am beyond proud of my daughter. She understands why we don't see them anymore. And she seems okay with it. She's brilliant. Thanks again. Mama Bear, lol. Edit to add. Reread the post, and just want to add I did talk to my daughter. Have a multiple times since. My parents were pretty involved in our lives, so their absence hit her pretty hard at the start. I explained in kid terms the shit I went through, what they said and how they were wrong and shouldn't have. How I won't allow it with her. I also apologized for getting angry around her and swearing, and she did get upset and said I scared her, which made me feel fucking awful. She seems to understand none of it was aimed at her, was for her. She isn't scared of me or anything, was just an in-the-moment thing. I don't shout or swear around her normally. She gets that I love her. I'm in her corner and always will be. Second edit. Suggested to add that the Mama Bear sign-off was because so many people assumed I was a mother last post. Was a father then, still father now. Was just trying to be funny. Didn't seem to land, lol. Also, Mozart, my bad, lol. Final edit. Thank you for your comments. I appreciate them, genuinely. Hope you guys have someone in your corner, and thanks for being in mine. People who doubt if I'm the same or karma farming. I don't care about karma, lol. Not gonna reply anymore. Gonna either delete if I remember the password or just leave this account tomorrow. But I appreciate the comments and hope you were happy with the update. Mama Papa Bear, lol. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Pianos are an investment. Also still NTA. Gotta wear shades, your spine is shining so bright. Reply. A bank-breaking investment, lol. But I don't regret it. It's newly plated, lol. Thanks. Commenter 2. I read the original. She played a 2-hand piece after 2 lessons? Wow. My mom was a classical piano teacher, still have her grand piano, and I played from 6 to 14. Your parents were bullies, not helping her with the real world. Much better ways to react. Mistakes happen. I don't know why 2 lessons a week though. Is it because she wants that? Best to you and your family, chosen family, and those that aren't like parents and sister. NTA back then and now. Reply. We brought some books that had stickers for her to practice with, and she spent a lot of time on YT. So a lot was self-learning. I wasn't able to financially help her the way I wanted when I posted, so I couldn't get a lot of lessons or the piano she wanted. In a better position now, is to not a lot. She has asked for more, but she does Tuesday/Friday hour lessons. Should she have more? Commenter 3. Thanks for the update. I remember being absolutely shocked at the original post. In a weird way, your parents do have a point that they raised you right if you are in a position to be such a badass standing up for your daughter and tell them to fuck right off. They didn't raise you well, and obviously they are assholes, but somehow you sure turned out all right. NTA. Reply. They didn't raise me this way. I went against their raising to be this way. Only been over the last few years I've seen things and read things about generational trauma. Doubled my strength into not having it hit my daughter. It's why I regretted the shouting and swearing so much. I'm not who I am because of them. I'm who I am despite them. Commenter 4. Have you been to therapy for your PTSD? Because there is no way this was the only thing over the last 10 years as a single dad. I assume your parents did a million little things to your daughter. Probably called her ugly/dumb hundreds of times before this. Reply. Only things said against my kid. They have never made a negative comment to her, and I would never allow it. They don't have her solo either. In their words, we've had our kids. We're done with it now. If they had ever said that to her, my reaction would have been the same as a year ago. My daughter is beautiful, amazing, clever. She works so hard, tries so much. She is amazing, and I will never and have never let anyone speak to her that way. Stories number 5. My sister doesn't want my wheelchair in her wedding, so I I 27F have been in a wheelchair since I was 19. I was in a really bad car accident during college and ended up with a spinal cord injury. Life obviously changed a lot for me, but I've worked really hard over the years to adapt. I live independently, I have a job, I have friends, I travel. Yes, being in a wheelchair is a huge part of my life, but it doesn't define me in the way people sometimes assume it does. Anyway, my sister, Emily 29F, is getting married next spring. Emily and I have always had a complicated relationship. She's very image-focused, I guess is the nice way of putting it. She's the kind of person who has an Instagram aesthetic and worries about how things will look before she worries about how they actually are. But she's still my sister, and when she asked me to be a bridesmaid a few months ago, I honestly felt touched. I thought maybe this wedding could be a chance for us to bond more. I immediately said yes. I was excited. I even started looking at dresses and talking to her about colors. But then, a couple of weeks after she asked me, she sat me down for a serious conversation. We were at her apartment, just the two of us, when she started explaining that her wedding is going to be aesthetic. Her exact words were, "It's going to be this vintage garden party vibe, with soft colors and florals, and everything has to match the look." I thought she was just sharing her vision with me, until she said, "So, I was wondering if there's any way you could not use your wheelchair that day, just for the ceremony and photos." At first I laughed because I genuinely thought she was joking. But nope, she was dead serious. She told me the wheelchair would distract from the look she's going for, and that it doesn't really fit the vintage theme. I just sat there stunned. Like, what does she expect me to do? Magically get up and walk for the day? I reminded her, kind of angrily, that I literally cannot walk. This isn't about convenience. This is my life. She immediately backpedaled and said, "Well, okay, maybe you could still use the chair but just sit toward the back during the ceremony, so it's not as noticeable in the photos." That honestly hurt even worse. I wasn't even being asked to hide my wheelchair. I was basically being asked to hide myself. I told her flat out, "If my presence in a wheelchair embarrasses you that much, then I just won't come." Emily started crying, saying I was overreacting and that she wasn't trying to be mean. She just wanted everything to look perfect. I left because I didn't trust myself not to say something I'd regret. Word spread through the family pretty quickly after that. My mom, Karen, 55F, is on my side. She told Emily she was way out of line and that if I chose not to attend, it would be completely justified. But my dad, Richard, 58M, is more old school. He keeps saying, "It's just one day. Can't you compromise so your sister can have her dream wedding?" He actually used the phrase, "Don't make a scene," which made me feel like I'm the problem here. Now Emily is texting me constantly, saying I'm ruining her wedding and making her look like a monster to the family. She keeps begging me to compromise, like maybe I could sit for the ceremony and then join in later. But every suggestion still boils down to me hiding in some way. I haven't decided 100% what I'm going to do. A part of me feels guilty for not being there for my sister on her wedding day, but another part of me is just done. If she can't accept me as I am, then why should I twist myself into knots just to make her photos look good? And honestly, the more I think about it, the angrier I get. My wheelchair isn't a prop. It's not an accessory I can swap out if it doesn't match the vibe. It's part of me, part of my reality. If that's too much for her to handle, then maybe me being absent will make her wedding exactly what she wants. Perfect. I just don't know if I'm making the right choice. Update. My sister doesn't want my wheelchair in her wedding. Hey everyone. It's been a while since I first posted about my sister not wanting my wheelchair in her wedding. I didn't expect my story to get as much attention as it did, but honestly reading your comments and messages helped me feel less crazy. I realized I wasn't wrong for feeling hurt or setting boundaries. Thank you for that. So, a lot has happened. After my original post, things between Emily and me were tense. We didn't really talk for weeks. She'd occasionally text me asking if I'd thought things through, like there was some magical solution where I'd suddenly stop needing my wheelchair for the sake of her wedding theme. I kept telling her, this isn't a choice. It's not about me being stubborn. It's reality. My mom, Karen, had a long talk with Emily and apparently told her point blank that she was acting like a bridezilla and that if she kept pushing me, she risked not only me not being there, but also mom herself refusing to go. Emily, of course, cried and called mom dramatic. That's kind of her go-to defense. Meanwhile, my dad, Richard, kept pushing me to be the bigger person. He actually said, "You'll regret not being there when you look back on family memories." which honestly stung. Like, I'd regret not watching my sister marry a man who seems fine with excluding me because of my disability? What kind of memory is that supposed to be? Then, things took an unexpected turn. Ryan, Emily's fiancé, reached out to me privately. We'd never been super close, but he messaged me one evening and said, "Sam, I need you there. I know Emily's words hurt, and I don't blame you for being angry, but I don't feel right if you're not part of this wedding." I told him I appreciated it, but I couldn't just pretend nothing happened. That's when he admitted he had been fighting with Emily about this too. Apparently, when she first brought up the wheelchair rule, he told her flat out it was cruel and ridiculous. But Emily twisted it into, "I'm just worried about how our photos will turn out. Don't you want them perfect too?" He said they'd had multiple arguments about it. At one point, he even threatened to postpone the wedding if she didn't let it go. That shocked me. I knew Ryan was a good guy, but I didn't expect him to put his foot down that hard. Fast forward to 2 months before the wedding, Emily called me crying. She admitted she'd handled things badly and begged me to still be a bridesmaid. She promised she'd never bring up the chair again. She said she was just stressed and had gotten caught up in wanting everything perfect. Here's the thing. I believe she meant it when she apologized, but it didn't erase the fact that she had made me feel like a burden in the first place. I told her I'd think about it, but I wasn't giving her an answer right away. I spent weeks going back and forth in my head. Do I forgive and show up, or do I stand my ground and skip the wedding? I knew whichever choice I made would ripple through the whole family. Eventually, I decided I would go. Not for Emily, but for myself. Because I realized staying home would feel like I was hiding. And I didn't want to give her, or anyone, the satisfaction of making me feel like I didn't belong. So I went. And let me tell you, the day itself was complicated. On the surface, it was beautiful. The garden venue was gorgeous, the flowers were everywhere, and the weather was perfect. When I rolled in with the rest of the bridesmaids, I did notice some people staring at me. But you know what? I also noticed my mom standing tall right beside me, glaring at anyone who looked too long. Emily, well, she looked stunning. I won't lie about that. But she also looked tense whenever the photographer aimed the camera my way. I saw her whispering to the planner a few times, and once she actually tried to angle herself so I wouldn't be too obvious in the group photos. I didn't call her out on it, but I noticed. The real MVP was Ryan. During the vows, during the reception, during everything, he kept making sure I was included. He pulled me into dances, made toasts that specifically mentioned me and the family I represent, and even had the DJ play a song he knew I loved. It was clear he wanted me to feel like I mattered. The wedding went off without any huge blow-ups, but afterward I decided I needed some distance from Emily. I haven't cut her off, but we're not close either. She apologized again after the wedding, but it felt hollow. Like she was just trying to smooth things over so no one could accuse her of being the bad guy. My relationship with my dad is also strained now. He still thinks I should have just let it go. My mom and I are closer than ever, though she's been my rock through all of this. So yeah, that's where things stand. I showed up, I didn't hide, and I refuse to let anyone shame me for existing in the body I have. Do I think Emily learned her lesson? Honestly, probably not. But I know I walked away stronger. And that's something I'll never regret. Final update, months later. Hey everyone, it's been several months since Emily's wedding, and I wanted to give a proper update now that the dust has settled. I never expected this to turn into such a family saga, but life moves on in strange ways, huh? First off, I went to the wedding and I'm glad I did. Being there, in my wheelchair, fully present, was empowering. I didn't let Emily's initial behavior ruin my experience. Ryan was incredible throughout, making sure I felt included in everything, and for that I will always be grateful. Honestly, he set the tone that day. Kindness, respect, and genuine inclusion. Emily, well, she's changed a little, but not as much as I hoped. She apologized again during the reception, but it felt performative. Since the wedding, we've spoken maybe 3 times. She keeps up appearances for the family, but our conversations are polite and minimal. I'm at peace with that. Some distance was necessary. My parents. Karen Mom has been amazing. She has been checking in with me, making sure I feel supported, and reminding me that standing my ground was the right choice. My dad, Richard, still sometimes brings up letting it go, but I've stopped engaging in arguments about it. It's just not worth it anymore. I've realized I don't need his approval to validate my worth. After the wedding, I also started pushing myself to engage more in social activities without worrying about other people's judgments. I joined a local community group for adaptive sports and met some incredible people who've reminded me how strong and capable I am. Being around people who don't see my wheelchair as a limitation has been life-changing. Emily's wedding did teach me one thing clearly. Boundaries are non-negotiable. I won't let anyone, even family, make me feel ashamed for living my life authentically. And while I wish Emily had learned that lesson, I've learned it for myself. And that's what matters most. Ryan and I stayed in touch after the wedding too. Not romantically, just friendly, but he genuinely respects me and my boundaries. It's rare to see someone stand up so strongly for someone outside their immediate circle, and I'm grateful he did. In short, I showed up, I participated, and I didn't hide. I maintained my boundaries, even after multiple apologies from Emily. My relationship with my sister is cordial but distant, and that's okay. My relationship with my mom is stronger than ever. My dad is learning to respect my decisions in his own time. I feel more empowered, confident, and respected than I did before all of this. Life goes on. Emily got her wedding, her photos, and her vintage garden dream. I got my self-respect, my dignity, and the knowledge that I'll never let anyone, even family, make me feel lesser for simply existing. So, thanks to everyone who read my original post, commented, and gave advice. It meant more than you know. Stay strong, set your boundaries, and never let anyone tell you your presence is inconvenient. Stories number 6. Aita for liking my husband's receptionist selfies. I 28F moved with my husband Tony 30M from a beautiful mountain city to what honestly feels like bumfuck nowhere in Illinois, so he could take a promotion. He's always been very work-oriented, and that was something I admired about him when we first met, so I agreed to support him and move. After the move, I struggled. I have 2 toddlers, I'm socially awkward, and it's hard for me to meet new people. The only people I knew here were a younger couple, Lauren 24F and Matt 25M, who moved with us because Matt works directly under my husband. Lauren and I were friendly, though not super close. One day, Lauren reached out because she thought I should know something. Apparently, Tony had set up a little lunch spot on the roof at work. A canopy, blanket, the whole thing. But instead of eating up there alone like he'd told me, he was up there every day with his 22F receptionist, Becky. Lauren even sent me Becky's Instagram, so I could see for myself. That's when I noticed Tony not only followed her, but had gone through and liked all of her selfies. That stung, because he'd completely left out the part about her joining him for lunch every day. On top of that, she's supposed to be answering his phones, not picnicking on the roof. So it felt fishy. Fishy enough for Matt to notice and for Lauren to feel like I should know. I decided not to be mad at Becky. For all I knew, she didn't even know I existed, which didn't feel impossible since, when I once stopped by his work, some of his co-workers seemed shocked to learn he was even married. So I came up with an idea. If Tony is liking all of her selfies, then I'd go through and like those same exact posts. No comments, no follow request, nothing else, just the same likes. My thinking was that she'd notice, click on my profile, and realize Tony has a wife and children. That way, if anything shady was going on, she'd know I was aware. If it was innocent, maybe she'd just think I was weird for checking her out. Either way, I knew she would tell Tony. Well, Tony blew up at me. He called saying I could cost him his job with drama. He insisted nothing inappropriate was happening and that I was overreacting. But to me, it felt backward. Actually sleeping with your receptionist would be what loses you your job, not your wife liking a couple of Instagram posts. Now he says I'm being dramatic, invasive, and unprofessional, and that I embarrassed him. But from my perspective, he lied by omission, downplayed his daily lunches with Becky, and made it seem like he was up there alone. So Reddit, Aita for liking his receptionist's Instagram selfies? TLDR, husband has daily rooftop lunches with his 22F receptionist, but told me he was eating alone. He follows her on Instagram and likes all her selfies. I went and liked the same post so she'd know he has a wife and kids. He blew up at me, says I'm dramatic and could ruin his job. Ida, update. I just heard from Lauren and she has the deets from Matt on what happened after I did the liking. Apparently, Becky didn't see her Instagram until her lunch break while up on the roof with Tony. I don't know what her reaction to Tony was while on the roof, but she came back down acting pissy. She asked Matt, did you know Tony has a wife? To which Matt was honest about because he didn't know there was a lie he was supposed to be keeping. He let her know that yes, Tony is happily married with 2 kids. She did not like that answer. I assume she and Tony talked more after and it couldn't have been good if Tony came home concerned about losing his job. Comments. Commenter 1. I think Opie should be prepared for her husband to lose his job because working in a bumfuck little town word is going to get around pretty damned fast about those rooftop lunches the new boss is having with his 22-year-old receptionist, especially since Becky is posting those lunches on her IG. And since your husband is new to that office and he is already f***ing around with his receptionist, you can bet that the staff who are supposed to be reporting to him will 1. Have no respect for him because he is focused on his dick instead of his job. 2. One if not more of those people will go around him to report him to the higher-ups in the company because he is behaving like a FCK off instead of a senior-level manager, and that affects everybody in that office. NTAOP, but you should really evaluate what is best for you and your children given that your husband apparently cannot handle rising up in a company. His ego and his dick are going to cost you and your children your home and security. Talk to a lawyer to lock in that fat spousal and child support now before he loses his job. Commenter 2. Super weird he has a picnic on the roof every day with another woman. Then the defensiveness. I'd be contacting a lawyer personally and document everything with screenshots. And his admittance when it happens. Commenter 3. I love this move. But now that Becky and husband are aware while you are aware, I'd finally reach out to Becky myself. It's pretty obvious he's at least trying to have an affair. So I'd love to know what he said to Becky, whether she knew you existed, and how far it has gone. Commenter 4. LOL, how are you being unprofessional? That's some clear projection, because if anything, a boss going through and liking all his receptionist selfies is what's unprofessional. And creepy, but his receptionist clearly doesn't think so, since they have picnics together. Either she enjoys the attention or she's actively interested in him. And Fur has the nerve to get mad at you. Stories number 7. Aita for calling my MIL ill-mannered for going through my suitcase and criticizing my bikini. Hi, my husband and I got married in June, and we're about to board the plane to our honeymoon. We've been with each other for almost a year and a half. Last night my in-laws were at our place to wish us goodbye. Before we went for our honeymoon, they live half an hour away. She was asking me to put some vitamin tablets as well, and offered to put in my suitcase. This is where it may have been my fault. First I said thanks, I'll put it. She said it's okay, she can put it, and I said okay, you can put it in the inner zipper. Turns out she actually went through the clothes, and she came across a fairly revealing bikini I had bought for this occasion. She asked me if I was really planning on taking this along. I kind of lost my cool because I was embarrassed, and said please don't go through our private stuff, it's rude and ill-mannered. She then said a honeymoon doesn't have to mean that I wear revealing clothes on public beaches we're Muslim, and she's a bit more conservative, I guess. I said our relationship and our honeymoon is our own and not for her to comment on. It might also be relevant to mention that my husband and I never told our families that we were in a physical relationship while we were seeing each other before our marriage. Just that we were meeting up. My mom knows though. My dad doesn't, or at least I don't think so. Don't think either of us know. So, my point is my MIL has a misplaced idea of mine and my husband's relationship. She was very affronted by what I said, and said I'm the one who didn't have manners, that all she wanted to do was help. My husband talked to her in private, and tried to explain that I felt violated even if she meant well. The mood had soured, and my in-laws wished us a good trip and left soon after. My husband said I shouldn't have let her near the suitcase at all if this was the case, and that while he had spoken to her about boundaries, I shouldn't have reacted without thinking. We decided to not let this affect our honeymoon, and we didn't talk about it again. But it was just on my mind right now. While he left to get us something to eat, I thought I'd quickly, as if I was TA, and if so maybe I'll admit it, to get our honeymoon off to a clean start. Edit. Thanks a lot for all the comments and a lot of the advice too. We're here now, so I didn't get the chance to read all the comments, but the ones I read were heartening. I don't think I'll be bringing it up again with him, not here at least, but the next time we'll interact with her, I'll talk to him in advance about the boundaries we need to establish with his parents. To address some questions, we live in Canada. We don't live with my in-laws, we have our own place. Also, I got some DMS saying what we did before marriage was sinful and haram. We know. We're bad Muslims perhaps, not hypocrites. Comments. Commenter 1. I kind of lost my cool because I was embarrassed and said please don't go through our private stuff, it's rude and ill-mannered. My husband said I shouldn't have let her near the suitcase at all if this was the case, and that while he had spoken to her about boundaries, I shouldn't have reacted without thinking. Husband. Answer me this. If you believe what I said to your mother in the moment was so very wrong, if it was reacting without thinking, then tell me. What should I have said or done in the moment to a person rummaging through my clothes without permission? That would have been okay with you? Commenter 2. NTA. MIL set you up. She could have easily handed you the vitamins, but she had to put them in your suitcase. She was going into this looking for dirt. Your MIL does have a misplaced idea of you and your husband's relationship. She thinks she's part of it. Commenter 3. NTA. And now you know why she was so insistent on packing those vitamins herself. She wanted a good rummage through your things in order to give her public opinion. That wasn't accidental. Stories number 8. Aita accused of being cruel and heartless to my stepfamily because I resent dad for bringing me into it to begin with. When I 20 was 10, my dad came home one day and said he met someone and he was in love with her and they were moving in and then he would marry her to make us a family. He told me she had 2 kids and one had autism. He said changes would need to be made to our house before they moved in for safety, and he had me help adapt our house. When I wasn't happy about it, he told me not to be so negative about it, and I'd have a brother and sister after this, and we'd have a bigger family. He told me it was a good chance after losing mom 2 years before that point. The day they moved in was chaotic, and I moved into a tiny room so I wouldn't have to share with my 5-year-old stepbrother, because to keep my bedroom I had to share it. My stepbrother was a lot worse than I was prepared for. He would explode into these outbursts, and he had to wear a brace on his head to stop him seriously hurting himself. But he would slam into people too, and a few times he ended up getting hurt when slamming into me, because my instinct was to protect myself. There were times he spent hours screaming and throwing things, and he had to be contained into the one room so nobody else got hurt. But a few times my dad's wife couldn't do it, and I was yelled at because I didn't get my stepsister, who was 3 when they moved in, to safety, and I just hid out in my room and didn't help. Then my dad and his wife had a baby together, and during his wife's pregnancy, I was expected to step up and help more. But I resented it. I hated being put in that position because of people I didn't want in my life. To me, it was being told I had to sacrifice my happiness and my life as I knew it for strangers who meant nothing to me and brought nothing positive into my life or my family. I had to give up my room or share with a younger kid who was violent and didn't sleep. I was asked to protect an even younger child from the violent child during outbursts, and expected to care for this child like she was my sister, and I loved her when I didn't, and that's not to mention the fact I could no longer have friends over. I could no longer play video games because most video games were a trigger for him, and every time I went to stay with my grandparents for a sleepover I was shamed for. Not taking my stepsister. Then I had a half-sister added to that shame once she was born, and also another who I was supposed to protect. Oh, and Dad had no time just for me anymore. My dad and his wife had visits from 2 therapists and a social/caseworker who would provide them with resources for help and check to make sure things were going okay, which apparently that was okay. My dad and his wife complained about how much time I spent hidden in my room, but they weren't okay with me going to friends' houses or my grandparents' house either. When I didn't entertain my stepsister, that was another big complaint, or when I refused to watch my stepbrother for a few minutes. It led me to leave without asking for permission and locking myself in my room when I was punished for it, so the punishment couldn't be babysit stepsister and or half-sister or help us with stepbrother. Even when he went into respite care temporarily, I was expected to use that to be fun with the girls. I was there until I was 15 when I basically went nuts one day when the social worker was visiting and I let out all my resentment and hatred for them. She pulled me aside and we talked, and then she talked to my dad. He resisted, but she said it would be safer for everyone if I left. I was placed with my grandparents and therapy with my dad was ordered, which he flaked on 80% of the time. My resentment didn't go away when I turned 18. I had no regrets about not being there anymore. I was so glad I was removed before COVID lockdowns happened because I would have been stuck inside with them for a year, and that even after 3 years of being gone was a nightmare to me. Dad told me a few months ago he wanted to fix things, and I told him he couldn't. I said he made my life worse when he decided to blend families with his wife, and I would never stop resenting him for it. I said he could still feel it was worth it, but nothing good came out of that for me, and my feelings had not changed. I said I wish I could erase ever having met them. Since then I get 1 or 2 messages a week from him or his wife accusing me of being cruel and heartless to my stepfamily, and especially the kids who don't deserve to be wished away like that, and I'm always reminded that one is my bio sibling too, and that I should be glad to have her and want a relationship. Comments. Commenter 1. What always kills me is these idiots who already have their hands full with one out-of-control kid, another one who needs to be protected from the out-of-control kid, and then they think it's a good idea to bring another kid into that hellscape. You were never responsible for either of those kids, and I don't blame you for wanting nothing to do with any of them, your dad included. Reply. It's because they expect us older kids to be a human shield and protector for the younger kids and any future kids. But 10 is not an adult who should be expected to do stuff like that. Commenter 2. NTA. You do not owe anyone a relationship. Your dad chose to get married and parent those kids. You didn't. You are an adult and can choose whom you want in your life. Reply. Yes, he made those choices. I think he also attempted to force choices and roles onto me, which were never fair. He was all too willing to make me a protector even though I was just a kid too, and I had no emotional connection with either of those kids. Commenter 3. Your dad needs to stop saying he wants to fix things and just start with apologizing. He clearly underestimated what it would do to the household to have a child with that level of autism. Sounds like he never protected you. I'm sorry. Reply. I don't think he underestimated it. That might be too generous to him. If anything, I think he just didn't care how unhappy it would make me. Reply. Commenter 3. Hard to say if he didn't care. I expect what happened after losing your mom is he found someone, which made him happy. Since he was happy, he had on blinders to how unhappy it made you. Then they just assumed you'd be the Brady Bunch. For your husband's wife, doesn't sound like she's ever been much of a mom, step, or otherwise. Block her. She isn't your parent, and you don't need to have any contact with her. I'd tell your dad that the messages accusing you of being heartless or cruel have to stop now. The only person you could remotely consider family is your dad, not the strangers he brought into your life against your will, half-sister included. If he cannot live with those boundaries, tell him to kick rocks and block him. You'll find more peace that way. You're still very angry, rightly so, and getting these messages from them all the time won't help. Stories number 9. My 45M wife 44F cheated, and we are separating. But with the reality of everything setting in, she now wants to stay, and I actually might want her to. So a few months ago, my wife of 15 years and the mother of our young children began an affair which consisted of thousands of texts, some dating, and then became a sexual relationship. I quickly discovered the affair, and things blew up. We fought hard. I called her a whore at one point, and we agreed to separate. When things calmed, we talked about how we both neglected each other over the recent years, and that things weren't good or working between us. I was willing to work on forgiveness and moving forward if she was willing to as well, and basically drew a line in the sand. It had to be him or me. She chose him. Apparently, they developed some great connection that she wanted to continue to explore. Well, the very next morning, I found his phone hashtag and texted him a sarcastic congratulations on breaking up a family and some passive-aggressive nonsense about being better than me and good luck to both of them. I know it was childish, but I was lashing out. Turns out he didn't even know she was still married and ended things immediately with her and blocked her. She was devastated. Cut to 2 weeks later, and things are getting real with the separation. She's applying for apartments. I'm keeping the house. We're splitting custody and have plans for everything, and things are actually looking pretty good for a clean and amicable split. So good that we've been reconnecting too. Almost like dating again. Just hanging out and talking and reminiscing and sharing our feelings on how we went so wrong. And it felt like things were actually rekindling between us, to the point where now, for the first time since this all blew up, she actually asked to stay and work stuff out. I still love this woman deeply, and I was thrilled. But in the back of my mind, I couldn't help but feel it wasn't out of a desire to be with me, but more because he wasn't an option anymore. So I was really hesitant and insecure about that. But I agreed, and we had another wonderful week together. Things were looking up. But then I glimpsed a text she was writing to her sister 8 days after our reconciliation, where she mentioned the other man, and something like she still cared for him so much and was upset at everything that happened and how she lost him. I freaked. So in a second act of immaturity, I broke her trust and stole her phone. I only had about 2 minutes with it, and only saw a small bit of the conversation history with her sister, and it looked like she had been deleting most texts in real time, but the text strongly suggested she didn't really want to stay with me after all. One text mentioned she had regrets immediately after asking to stay and work stuff out with me. Others mentioned she could never forgive me for calling her a whore or live with someone who thought of her that way. And then others mentioned there was more to the story that she could never tell me. Her sister, twice divorced and no fan of mine, has been loving all this drama and strongly encouraging her to leave me again the whole time. So this landed us in another fight, and I told her we need to split and move forward as agreed before. So we're back to that. Living under the same roof, taking care of the kids together, all the normal stuff. But she's looking for an apartment again. And like before, things are weirdly kinda good again. But this time, she claims I was misreading her texts and she was just venting privately to her sister, and it's not fair to judge her on those. And now it's me who is actually ending things, and it's not her fault this time, because she really wanted to try. She's basically saying I'm the one giving up and throwing away our marriage. This is gaslighting, right? I mean, she literally said that stuff I read, whether I was supposed to see it or not. So why shouldn't I assume she didn't mean it exactly as she wrote it? And she's lied about so much already. I've no reason to think differently, right? But here's the thing. We've been so good together again that I'm still having doubts. Really, really good. Like better than ever. Is this normal? Are we in like a reverse honeymoon phase or something? I can't possibly take her back with all the shit that's gone down, right? She says she can cut this guy off, but she was going on and on about him still to her sister. And I think she still sees him at or through work, so he's not like gone, even though he blocked her, if that makes any sense. And what if he unblocks her in the future and reaches out for whatever reason? She said she wouldn't care, but how can I trust that? And on top of that, she feels like my transgressions, calling her a whore, texting the other guy, snooping in her phone, are just as bad and need forgiveness, and kinds acts like that makes her a victim and we're equally to blame? That just pisses me off. I was wrong. Yes, but feel justified. I guess she feels the same about her actions though, so that can't work? I feel so confused. For me, emotionally, it really seems like things can work, and I'm even feeling like I'm in a healthy place and dealing with the cheating and moving forward and stuff, but the slow drip of the truth is crazy to deal with, and it still doesn't feel like everything is all out in the open. So if she asks to stay again, I just can't do it, right? This feeling, and well things are going, is not real, right? Or is it real enough to try, knowing that we may just end up here again anyway? Comments. Commenter 1. So she wants you back after she picked him and he rejected her. Think about that. Commenter 2. I counted 3 times she picked the AP over OP. The initial affair, then when OP found out and told her to choose, and then again in her text messages to her sister. How many more times does she have to pick someone else before OP realizes the marriage is over? Commenter 3. I have to agree with this take. She is so selfish, and she is showing a track record now of only looking out for herself. OP is confusing get along better with rekindling a love relationship. Wrong. And even her grasping at straws to try to balance the betrayals is so selfish on her part, and shows she feels no remorse and takes no accountability. To the STBXW. Going behind your husband's back and cheating is betrayal of who should be your most trusted and most beloved person. That warrants all kinds of harsh words and reaction. Cheating is a standalone act. Name-calling upon learning about the cheating is an emotional reaction. It is not on the level of betrayal. Calling her a fair partner? LMAO. If STBXW didn't cheat in the first place, OP would never have had an AP to congratulate. Still no equivalencies. As for going through the phone, when one's wife has thrice chosen an AP over her husband, and there seems to be possible reconciliation, the STBXW has no track record of trust, and it is crucial to establish what your partner is thinking when they fail to share what they really feel. OP should kick out this cheater. He should absolutely reject her attempts to play victim. She stepped out of the marriage. She has earned no sympathy. Considering what she is telling her sister, it doesn't look like she wants anything other than to gaslight OP into a place to stay while she plans her next move. Backstab. Guaranteed her next move will be something that benefits her alone and screws over everyone in her wake. Nice going. To OP, this cannot be repaired or recovered from as it stands. Unless she approached you with true remorse and sorrow for what she put you through, unless she feels disgusted with herself, unless she understands and accepts your need to separate now, she is utterly not a viable partner to return to. Without her sad about the damage she has caused you and your family for her selfishness, she is still just thinking about herself. Commenter 4. OP, it's not gaslighting, it's just plain, old-fashioned manipulation. Gaslighting is when you experience something and someone tells you you didn't actually experience that thing. It's a pretty specific kind of manipulation. Manipulation doesn't have to be gaslighting to be bad. And this is bad. OP, it's really bad. After reading your headline, I was thinking she made one mistake and realized it, and is taking accountability, and you really don't want to blow up your life. But this is not that. This is not a one-time mistake. She had a months-long, full-blown affair, and when caught and asked to choose, she chose him. She didn't just lie to you. She also lied to him to get him to have an affair with her without his consent. Think about what kind of person does that. She's being wonderful to you while talking shit behind your back. And she's equating your momentary angry name-calling at discovering her infidelity with the months-long affair she had. That's not taking accountability. For your relationship to work, she has to want it, and take unequivocal accountability for what she did. She's trying to duck accountability, and she's making it clear she doesn't want to make your relationship work, she just doesn't want to lose. End the heartache sooner and get that divorce. Commenter 5. Keep one thing in mind. If the other guy wouldn't have broken up with her, then she wouldn't even look into your direction right now. Her words to her sister were her real feelings, not just some venting. Your wife is afraid of being alone. That's the only reason why she is nice to you again. If you stay with her, then I guarantee you that it's only a matter of time before she starts her next affair and at one point leaves you for that guy. You have it in your own hands if you want to experience that or not. Also, look up the terms love bombing and hysterical bonding. That's what's happening right now, and you can be sure that it will not last long. Most likely only so long until you tell her that she can stay and that you won't divorce. Stories number 10. Lifeguard won't let me back into the beach because my daughter didn't have a top. 15 weeks ago, my kid's 2-year-old daughter and 3-year-old son went hiking. We followed a path that went very deep into a forest, and we came across a little beach type of place. It's really small, and there were maybe 10 people there. From 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., there is a lifeguard, although he labels himself as security there since it belongs to the city's regional parks, and otherwise it is unsupervised. Obviously, we had just come from hiking, and I didn't have the kids' swimsuits, so when they asked me if they could go into the water, I said that I'd see. When we got closer and I saw that it didn't go deeper than my 2-year-old stomach for a good 6 meters, I told myself I'd pull up my pants and go 2 to 3 meters in and watch the kids from there. So I agreed to let them in and told them to remove their shirts and pants, to only keep their undies, and to jump in, which they gladly did. They were playing in the water for about 3 minutes when the lifeguard comes by and asks me if my daughter has a top. I told him quickly that this wasn't planned, that her swimsuit does have a top, but that I didn't have it with me. He replied something about it not being a nudist or topless beach, and that she needed a top, so that maybe I could put her shirt on. I wasn't entirely sure that he was kidding or not. I mean, he was really young, looking 16 to 18, and he was dressed with baggy shorts and a long t-shirt, definitely not ready to jump in the water if someone drowns, and I don't know. I thought it might have been a joke. So I asked him, really? He said, yes, really? So I got worked up and told him, what does my daughter's chest have that my son doesn't? So he said, well, you know, women have breasts. To which I replied, yes, women do, once they reach puberty. Right now she's just a little girl with nipples. Everyone has nipples, boy or girl. He looked at me and just said, okay, she cannot stay in the beach like that. At that point I was really pissed, probably to the point where I couldn't even watch them properly in the water, so I told them that we're going to get going. After a bit of, but mommy, I want to play, we got dressed and going. I didn't go back for a while since there is also another beach nearby, but further and much busier, but then we went hiking yesterday, and the kids asked if we could stop by the beach. I mean, this time around I decided to plan ahead, and to bring their swimwear. Both have shorts and a t-shirt, surf style, as well as mine. We got there, the kids had their swimwear on already, and they just took off their shoes and socks, and jumped into the beach. I was taking off my dress when the same lifeguard came by. He said that he had spoken to his manager, and that we weren't allowed on the beach, that they take child pornography very seriously. Again, I thought he was kidding. Like, seriously, what the hell? So I told him, you better be kidding. And he says, please don't make me call for backup. Now, there were like 5 people at the beach. They were all staring, and even the kids weren't even in the water and just wondering why mommy was getting upset. My 3-year-old even asked mommy, do we have to go again? And it just made me feel really upset, and I asked him, in a calming voice, can I please have the number of your manager and his name? He said he didn't have it on him, and I told him that I'd go ahead and wait while he called him. So I got undressed and went into the water to watch the kids. What he ended up doing was to call the other security people, 3 who are also 16 to 18 looking, obviously summer jobs, and they told me that I had to leave or that they would have to escort me out of the park. My kiddos didn't need that type of stress. I didn't want to argue, so I politely asked for the manager's number again. And one of the guys said, "I am the manager, and I just asked you to leave." So we got dressed, and we left. Today, 24 hours later, I am definitely upset. We are in July. It's nice outside. That beach is at 25 minutes from our house. It's not busy, and yet, I cannot go there for really stupid reasons. I feel like I cannot reason with them, and except writing to the newspaper or some type of media, I have no other idea what to do. My husband says to just go there after 2 p.m., and we have gone as a family later at night where no one is around, but I think it's completely unfair that we just can't go whenever we please. Has anyone been in this situation that could offer any advice? Should I just let it go and go to the other beach that is 60 minutes away, or try to reason with someone? I obviously don't think I've done anything wrong that got me and the kids banned. I just feel like I pissed off the lifeguard, and that he's just getting back at me. Edit 1. Kids are napping, and I decided to contact the city's council since I really can't find the number of the park's direction. I'm on hold. Edit 2. Okay, I called. I got transferred to this sweet lady who took my call very seriously and who was super professional about it. She was in total disbelief and just couldn't believe that they would have asked a mom and her 2 kids to leave because of that. She asked me over and over if I had any alcohol with me, if my daughter was 20, not 2, and if I was topless myself. She also kept apologizing and said, "I'm so sorry. This is just crazy. I don't see why it wouldn't be allowed, and I don't see why you'd lie." She put me on hold for a good 10 minutes, and when she came back she apologized for what had happened. She says that if everything did indeed happen like I say it did, they obviously want to question the security guards about it, that there was absolutely no reason for me to leave. She said that the security guards are actually volunteers who are required by school to volunteer, and that they don't actually have any power of asking people to leave or to dress up. So that if I wanted to, I could just go back and give them their number, the city's number, or to contact the local police and ask them to send an officer over non-urgently and not to be bothered by them. She gave me the case number 2 in case I need it, and she promised that she'd call me back to update me after they get a hold of the lifeguards and tell me what was going to happen. She ended the conversation by saying that she was a grandmother of a 4-year-old who goes to beach topless and never thought of it as offensive. You guys are great, by the way. However, I do wish to say that I don't plan on hurting, harming, fighting, yelling, and doing any other type of damage to anyone, especially not teenagers. I also don't really plan on suing them or harass them. So while your advice is really appreciated, those are things I just will not do. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'd call the beach and ask to speak to the manager. And if you get the 16-year-old kid, move up the chain. I'm sure that an 18-year-old is not in charge of the beach. Reply. That's what I think too. I mean, at a certain point there has to be someone else. It's a beach that is inside of a national park. If I look on their website, there is no contact information. So, are they hired by the city? I've been going there for a long time now and never ever came across lifeguards and security, but I've also never had found that beach. Commenter 2. Start by calling the National Park Information Line and ask to be put in touch with whoever's responsible for their lifeguards or beaches. Reply. I'll do that as soon as the kids are napping actually. They don't have a number per se that I can find, but I'll call the city. Update. The lady called back about an hour ago. We actually spoke for a while. She started by saying how the whole team who worked with her got really upset and concerned about the whole story. She said that there are not a lot of young couples and families in the city, and that they've really been trying to attract younger families, and to hear something like that happening is just counterproductive. So she apologized again and said they did some quick investigation and found some quite interesting things. Happens that one of her colleagues has a teenager son who knows these guys who went to volunteer at the national park. They go to high school together, and as part of a class, they have to complete 24 hours of volunteer work. Apparently, when the mother questioned her son about their volunteering at the beach, he said they don't really volunteer there. They mostly host parties and call it volunteering. Most of 10th graders meet there to drink and smoke. Apparently, he had just not told him mom because he didn't think they were harming anyone. And I mean, let's not forget it, the kid is 16. I probably wouldn't have called them out either. I would think it's just something silly. So, they sent 2 people who works for the town to check it out at around 1:30 p.m. yesterday, and what they saw was crazy. Apparently, there was about 15 teenagers there, all drinking, some smoking, some topless who apparently said they were tanning, and lots of free dogs, which isn't allowed on the whole site. She even added that there was a guy who refused to come out of the water with his girlfriend because they were both naked. It must have been a mess. The lady was telling me that on the phone, and I was laughing, and she was like, yeah. We laughed too. No shit, they didn't want us there. It was their private little beach of drinking, smoking, and fucking. And like I was super curious and almost got to be friends with the lady, I asked her, okay, what did the two people do? Well, there is only one way to get into the beach, by a little trail after a hike, and there is only one way out, by the famous little trail. So the two town workers sat on the trail, blocking the way, and called the cops. The cops came with alcohol tests, asked to see IDs, called parents to come and get their kids at the park's entrance, and apparently gave them tickets for being underage and drinking. The lady also said they are in process of contacting the school to let them know how their volunteering experience worked out and how they were not dedicated to their lifeguard activities. Well, that explains a lot. They just didn't want us around. And since they have time to see us coming before we get to see them, they probably also had time to hide booze and get dressed. Although maybe it was still too early for them when we went 10-ish, 11-ish. The lady reassured me that they were going to request these volunteers to give me an apology and that today there is already a new volunteer, that she has been told about me and the kiddos, and that she cannot wait to meet us. I honestly couldn't be happier. I'm actually typing this and then getting ready to go since it's such a nice day here today. TLDR. Teenagers were hosting a private beach with lots of illegal things, so they didn't want us around and found excuses to kick us out. I'm really happy at how the city workers handled the whole deal. Edit. We went to the beach. The new volunteer is a really sweet teenager named Jessica. She happens to want to be a veterinarian and spent the whole time watching the kids with me and talking about pets. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Wow. Well, that explains a lot. I've never heard of a beach that uses teenagers as volunteers to run it in the US, without an adult supervisor. That does sound like a recipe for trouble. Commenter 2. My son is a lifeguard and has to pay the Red Cross for training updates and certifications. This way the employer's state have their asses covered if heaven forbid someone does drown. They've hired a certified lifeguard. Otherwise the lawsuit would be tremendous. How does this town get away with using untrained teenage volunteers? Commenter 3. They were called security rather than lifeguard, and it was posted that no lifeguard was on duty. No liability because no official lifeguard. Commenter 4. Got it. Swim at your own risk type thing. Reply. Yup. Actually, there is a no swimming when river is above this line and swim at your own risk sign. So I think volunteers are there for the hell of it, but it's mainly a free-for-all beach. Reply. I thought about that too, although I didn't bring it up. If I was a teenager, I would have probably invited all my friends to come over too. In response to a deleted comment. Unrecoverable. Reply. It really is. I'm not even mad or upset anymore. I just find the whole thing absurd. These kids will probably think about this 10 years from now and be like, wow, we were really dumb. I'm kind of reassured they actually didn't care about my kid being topless and were just trying their best to cover their butts. Commenter 5. What a bunch of entitled selfish idiots. They couldn't suspend their personal naked party for a half hour, so a mom and her 2 kids could splash around in the water? Commenter 6. The hormones are real. Stories number 11. Aita for allowing my husband's mistress to meal prep for him and the kids. My husband has been cheating on me for years with different women. Due to this, I've completely shut off from him. We don't have a sexual relationship, but we do an amazing job at being parents. Our kids love us, and that's all that matter in the grand scheme of things. I am not dating anyone. This isn't an open relationship. Every time he cheats, he acts more remorseful, but I've come to terms that I can't save him. He's seeing this woman, Cherry, and she's a cook and baker. We were in a little tussle once, but that's in the past. I've moved on. I don't like her, but I don't hate her. A few weeks back, I caught him eating in his car and realized it was from her. The packaging gave him away. She has been sending him goodie bags and now full meals. I told him going forward, I'm no longer cooking for him, and he needs to let her do everything, including meals for the kids. I really put my foot down and did some petty things that I'm not proud of, but it worked. I told him if she loves him, she will do it, but I'm done. Well, I don't know what he did to convince her, but at least 3 times a week they get meals from Cherry. He brings the container and plates the food. The kids are happy because they think they are getting takeout. I don't partake. On the other days I cook for just the kids and myself. My husband, on the other hand, got mad and said I manipulated him into taking advantage of Cherry and kept asking me, what do I get out of these mind games? I told my best friend about the whole ordeal, and she's upset with me, saying that what if Cherry spikes the kids' meal? I don't think she would do it. Aita for letting this happen. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Mistress wanted to be a sister wife. She got assigned sister-wife duties. LMAO. Reply. She's a professional mistress. She'll move on from him soon. Commenter 2. Why are you staying with him? For fuck's sake, just get divorced. This is sick and a terrible environment in which to raise kids. Reply. I'm not giving up my house and leaving with half. I hope I get under his skin and he gives up everything. Commenter 3. You are setting a terrible example for your kids long term. If you have a son, how would you feel if he did this to his wife? Kids know, you can't hide it. Reply. My baby's clothed and fed. They don't know what's going on. They are too young for that. I pretend when I'm in front of them. Commenter 4. White yay for staying in this toxic marriage. The example you're setting for your kids is abominable. Update. Aita for allowing my husband's mistress to meal prep for him and the kids. It's been 10 months or so since I've last posted, and a lot has changed. I'm here to tell you that I am getting a divorce and starting the moving on process. After posting on Reddit, I received a lot of backlash and DMs that were a bit overboard. However, there were some that made me see life in a different perspective, and I realized being petty doesn't serve me nor my kids. A month after my OG post, I stopped the kids from eating Cherry's meals. It was childish to drag my kids into that mess. I'm just grateful they are small enough and don't understand what's happening with their parents. I let her cook for him and take care of his laundry. There is no way I'm slaving over a man who hates me. My job is to take care of my kids, not a grown adult who cannot respect his wife. I'm no longer cook, therapist, financial planner, assistant, and maid. Just mother of his children and soon-to-be ex-wife. While to rip the Band-Aid off, I cheated back, and it didn't go as planned. The petty spirit in me did it in the worst way possible. I invited a gentleman over when I knew my husband would be coming in, and he saw and heard everything. He caught me in the act. To keep it real with you all, I'm lucky to say that it could have went way worse than it did, but I don't feel guilty, just indifferent. I can say he isn't taking it well, and before bed, he bawled his eyes out and vented for what felt like a millennium. I am the scum. I am the traitor. It's funny, not in a hysterical way, but I've been crying for years, and he's only cried once. It's almost as if he forgot he was the cheater who caused all of this. I don't know how to explain, but I don't regret cheating back. It made me feel empowered. I felt satisfaction watching him break down, because that used to be me. The morning afterwards, he woke up begging to reconcile, but this taught me I needed to divorce. He's being extra nice, but nice isn't good enough. It's the bare minimum. I had to pause when writing because he called to check up on me at work. He never does this. Not to mention lunch drop-offs and little gifts. I'm not buying it. I know this isn't the update some would want, but the bright side is I'm holding myself accountable and getting that divorce. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. It's funny how some people only change when it hurts them. He cheats on you, destroys you. Oh well. You cheat on him. Now he feels bad. Time to reconcile. There's a simple lesson here. Dude's emotionally selfish. He cares about himself. DGF about hurting you. I tell him that to his face. Hubby, I understand it hurts to see your spouse fucking someone else. I understand that now you've experienced that hurt for yourself. It's real to you, and you want to fix things. But here's the thing. The fact that you're willing to do it to me without thinking how I'd feel, but then once you feel it yourself you repent, that reveals the kind of person you are on the inside. That you're a person who will protect their own emotions, but doesn't have the empathy to consider how your actions will affect others, or the fortitude to stand up against hurting others even when it means you don't get something you want. For that reason, I don't want to be married to you anymore. It's not because of what you did. It's because what you did both now and before revealed who you are. If you have any sorrow or shame from this, then please let's get this over quickly. Let's do a fair and amicable divorce. Let's not drag it out. And let's be as good co-parents as we can be. If not for us, for the kids, they didn't ask for any of this and they don't deserve it. Reply. Copying this to tweak it a little. The worst part is he tried to come on to me, then had the nerve to act hurt. During his rant, he wanted me to hug him as if he was the victim. Commenter 2. Sorry for those who think it's wrong, but I love the fact that you cheated too. It's good to make him taste his own medicine. Reply. I won't lie, it felt good. The weirdest thing was him trying to initiate intimacy in the morning. He seemed triggered when I declined. Commenter 3. You don't want your kids growing up with an angry mom. This is definitely for the best. Reply. I always try my best to be happy around them. They never suspect anything is wrong. Commenter 4. I went to the OG too, and I have a question for OP if she sees this. OOP says Cherry is a professional mistress. Does that loser pay her? Reply. When we had a little tussle, she mentioned that he paid her rent. I called her a professional mistress because this isn't the first taken man she's messed with. She's known for doing that. Stories number 12. Ida for asking my sister to give me my money back after her husband made fun of my wife's scars. My sister had borrowed money from me almost a year ago for her husband's surgery and healthcare. They couldn't afford it, so when my sister asked me for financial help I was hesitant, but I helped her because she's my sister and helping her husband would mean helping her as well. I told her back then that I am hesitating, but I will help she said she'll return the money in 3 months, but she didn't, and I didn't ask her either. So now I brought it up again. I wasn't planning on asking to return the money, but her husband made fun of my wife's scars. My wife has small scars on her hand. It's not serious, just small scars she inflicted on herself when she was 15. I was with her back then and put a stop to it. We are 27 both, and my Bill made fun of my wife when he asked her if she's still childish and asked her to cover up her hands because it's unpleasant for everyone. Both of our families were speechless and my wife was as well. I said when we are young we do dumb shit, and he's too drunk, so he should just shut up. He got a bit more aggressive and said that it's still unpleasant and my wife should cover up. I retaliated in my anger and told him that my wife will start covering her scars when he gives me my money back. TBH, I get angry easily and I wanted to insult him. My wife was holding me to stop, but I told her to shut up. I ended up telling him that he's a poor man and weak who couldn't even afford his own surgery and had his wife beg for money to her brother. He got even more angry and he said he will give me my money. I said, do it right now, but you can't because you can't even walk properly. Our families were interfering and my sister was crying. I shut my mouth because I didn't want my sister to cry. Since then my sister is asking me to apologize because I hurt his ego and he's in foul mood and depressed. I told my sister that I will never apologize and he needs to apologize to my wife, and I asked her that both of them owe me money and I want it back as soon as possible, and I don't care if they are poor. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA okay, telling your wife to shut up is not on. But I also get the fact that you were defending her and wanted to hurt him. I get the anger when it comes to protecting family. When someone goes low on my family, I scrape the barrels of hell. Commenter 2. NTA, your brother-in-law can dish it out, but he can't take it. He should try to be more respectful to someone who was kind enough to loan him money and not ask for it back after 4x the agreed timetable of repayment on the loan had expired. Commenter 3. It is difficult to overcome the stigma of SH scars. I have many, and they're covered in various ways. If someone mocked my inability to manage my life, I think it would break me again. No matter how old I get, my attachment to living is tenuous at best. My husband, light of my life, knows this and can be very, very protective. It doesn't matter who it is, he will absolutely fight for me. You are not in the wrong. Your wife will always need you in her corner. Remind your family that the things that can drive you to SH can happen instantaneously. Make them remember that. Take from them the same dignity and respect they took from your wife. Commenter 4. NTA for insulting BIL since he's just awful. NTA for asking for your money back. YTA for telling your wife to shut up. Update. Ida for asking my sister to give me my money back after her husband made fun of my wife's scars. It's an update for those who don't want to read my previous post. My wife has some small self-harm scars from her childhood, and my Bill insulted my wife and asked her to cover them up, and when I couldn't tolerate the disrespect, I asked him to give me the money I lent him for his surgery and healthcare. After my Bill insulted my wife and asked her to cover her scars, I wanted him to pay me my money back as soon as possible. My Bill and my sister said they'll give me my money back in 3 months, and it's been a year, and still they didn't. My wife told me today that my Bill called her and he apologized to her, so I shouldn't ask for money because they can't afford it, and I should forgive them. I told my wife that he's taking advantage of your kindness and he apologized to you because he can't afford to pay and he insulted you in front of everyone, and we deserve a public apology, and my wife said that she's forgiven him and doesn't want the money back, and they need that money more than us. I told her to stay away from this and let me do my thing. I will ask them again and again until they pay, but my wife said she doesn't want to and I shouldn't either, and I should be the bigger person after Bill apologized, and she's forgiven him. Actually, I don't care if I get my money back. I'm just using it to get back at him. I want to humiliate him just like he humiliated my wife in front of our families, but my wife doesn't want that. So am I asshole if I ask for my money and go behind my wife's back? Comments. Commenter 1. They should pay you back because you let them borrow from the kindness of your hearts. I totally get where you're coming from, but the family drama is probably stressing your wife out. I think her mental health/happiness is more priority than humiliation. The humiliation could also make her feel guilty, even though it's not her doing, but technically it's because of her. Love that you're defending her though. By the way, your sister's husband is the Aholi. Commenter 2. I mean, there's two avenues of thought here. While your wife has forgiven him, you don't have to, and are well within your right to do so. Is this situation worth putting you at odds with your wife? You could just let it go to appease your wife, and then keep him at arm's length and low contact from now on. Commenter 3. BIL is getting ready to ask to borrow more money. Stories number 13. Aita for letting my pregnant daughter move in with me, even though my girlfriend doesn't want her to. I 40M have an 18-year-old daughter with my ex-wife. Call her Maddie. We divorced when she was 7, and I have her 3 weekends a month. Her mom moved to a suburb almost an hour outside the city to be closer to her family and for a better school. My work was in the city, and after a while Maddie got sick of all the driving and asked if we could go to a different schedule. We talked most days on the phone, and I have been very involved in her life. She's a great student, graduated with over a 4.0, has a lot of friends, and what I thought. Very nice boyfriend. She has no idea what she wants to do with her life, and had already decided to defer her scholarship a year to take classes at the community college and work. I also have a girlfriend, Vera 37, and she gets along with Maddie great. We've been together about 2 years, and she just moved into my house a few months ago. Edit. Her old roommate got married, and she couldn't afford rent alone. We'd been together almost 2 years, and I was considering proposing, so it seemed like a good idea after she couldn't find another place. She pays the electric and water bills, but my house is paid off, so I just pay taxes, insurance, and the other utilities, and it's been great. I didn't really date much the past few years between Maddie and work, so it's nice having someone always around. Vera doesn't want kids of her own, and I don't want any more, so it's been great. So for all that, Maddie is pregnant, and her mom has kicked her out. Her boyfriend has another year left of nursing school and lives in a college apartment with roommates. She is of course staying here for now and found out late. She's due in January. She and her boyfriend went over the options and decided to keep the baby. She told me very meekly and asked if she could stay. I told her of course, she knows this is disappointing, but she'll never stop being my baby, and if this is what's going to happen, I'm here to support her within reason. As in, I'm fine babysitting if she has work or class, and she will keep working and going to school, but I'm not babysitting for her to party or hang out with friends. If the boyfriend bails, which I was as kind as I could be, but told her happens even with the nicest boys, she would need to file child support. And I would give her grace before and after birth. But when she's recovered, she will go back to doing chores on top of baby once. I told her and the boyfriend to sleep on it, and they did and came back with actual thoughtful responses, and even a budget goal that I found impressive. So, the tiny bedroom next to Maddie's that is currently home to a treadmill I never use is going to be a nursery. Of course, I've kept Vera in the loop during all of this edit. And by this I mean I don't know how many different ways I need to put this so it gets through people's heads. Vera and I discussed all of this before I talked to the kids. In depth, I made her very aware that the 3 of them could end up living here for a few years. She was supportive. I kept her in the loop. When them living here became the plan, she gave me an ultimatum and told me to kick my daughter out because she's an adult. I told her I wouldn't do that. She is still here and making everyone uncomfortable, and she seemed really understanding until I told her the plan. She got upset and said if she wanted to raise a baby, she'd have one of her own. She said she didn't sign up for this and is not okay with it, and demanded I rescind the offer, that Maddie is 18 and needs to figure it out on her own if she wants to keep the baby. I told her I wouldn't do that. She'll always be my daughter and needs help. She threatened to move out if I didn't tell Maddie to get out, then got mad that I told her I understood. Now she's avoiding the both of us but still staying here or being snippy. I don't know what she expects me to do, but it's making the entire house anxious. Edit. Stop saying that. Vera would be shocked that Maddie moved in. This is Maddie's home. She's always lived here. Yes, the rest is a surprise, but not my daughter living in her home. Comments. Commenter 1. Say goodbye to this relationship. Commenter 2. Opie already said he chose his daughter over his girlfriend. But the girlfriend, who was supposedly ready to leave, has nowhere to go and can't afford to live independently. So she's just angry her ultimatum didn't work while still living with Opie. Commenter 3. Funny how that works. The girlfriend thinks Opie's pregnant 18 years old must be independent and out of the house, while she, 37, and without any children should be given shelter and food on the table. Commenter 4, right? OP says his girlfriend couldn't afford rent on her own after her roommate left. But OP's daughter, at 18 and pregnant, should figure it out. Commenter 5, time to tell you GF, she can do what's best for her, but your daughter will probably be here for 3 to 4 years. Let her know you want her to stay, but your life will change. Reply. That's what I told her. She's not happy about it, and being rude to me. Commenter 6. 18 is barely an adult, and actual adults who think 18 is a proper age to be 100% on your own are a problem. Good job still being willing to be a parent to your child when she needs you. NTA. Reply right. Of course I don't want anything bad to happen to my daughter. And now there's a grandbaby to worry about. Commenter 7. Maybe discuss what Vera's fears really are. She might think when the baby comes the work will be dumped on her. Reply. I have, and I've made it clear that all she will owe to the baby is to help in emergencies. And by emergencies I mean this is not only extreme, but urgent, like I'd ask a very good neighbor, if that makes sense. If they both have work and or class, and I have plans, I am canceling my plans if they can't find someone. His parents live out of town, not asking her. The only exception is if she offers, and I have no expectations that she will offer. I think I'm being fair. Commenter 8. You're being fair, absolutely. Vera saying children are a deal breaker is also fair. You took her saying no kids to mean you won't have any together, but clearly she meant I will never share my home with a young child. While in age, unfortunately you've got a fundamental incompatibility, and she'll need to find a new home before January, because you won't still be a couple by February. Sometimes life sucks, and you have to choose what sucks the least. This internet stranger is very proud of you for choosing your child over your girlfriend. Update. My last post got a little overwhelming. I'm still glad I did it. Reading the comments I just got to the point I was like, what am I doing? I asked Vera to talk. She started. She actually did kind of apologize, said she was just stressed because she's expected Maddie to either keep the same custody schedule or maybe a bit more, but not full-time and certainly not with a baby. And then she didn't think I'd actually let her live here with the baby. She said she'd be able to work with a compromise of Maddie and the boyfriend, let's call him Doug, getting their own place when he started working full-time, and they could promise to never ask her for help. I guess she thought as long as she has an end in sight, she would be able to handle it. I told her I understood, but her behavior was out of line, and I can't see us working out after this. She was upset and seemed shocked and got pretty mad. I told her she was welcome to stay in the basement, finished, walk out, with a kitchenette for a month while she found a new place, and I'd pay her back for the bill she'd paid $790, so I rounded up to $1,000. She wasn't happy at any of this and was freaking out, so I called and asked Maddie if she could stay with Doug for the night. I offered to give Vera some space, and she told me to fuck off. I was working from home that day, so I was around, but not in her way at all, while she moved her things downstairs. She had work that night, and let me know the next morning she'd be moving to her friends. I offered help, but again she said no and left her key on the counter. I changed the security code, but told her if she left anything there just to let me know, and I'd let her in to come and get it. So I thought there'd be no drama. I was actually obviously sad, but felt better about the whole thing. We can't prove anything, but Maddie's carnivore plants started rapidly dying the last few days, and she said a bunch of her concentrated fertilizer was gone. We all know not to touch them or water them, as in she had me install rain barrels because they can't have tap water. She's devastated and hasn't said it directly, but I think we both think Vera did something to them. I've asked her if she wants me to do anything about it, and she said no. And at one point Vera sent her a nasty text saying she's the reason I'm alone and she hopes she's happy. I told her to block her. I don't know if she feels guilty or like she deserves it. She doesn't even want me to replace them and said she'll just try to salvage some of them. So if anyone knows of good sites in the US to buy pictures or pings, hit me up. So not great. I'm going to stay single for a while, obviously. But there's some good news. I have a female friend whom Maddie has known forever and has had kids, and she took her out to lunch. My issue was that Maddie thought she could power through and take courses in the spring with a newborn. She wouldn't listen to me and told me she'd make it work. My friend was able to convince her that one semester wasn't going to ruin her life, so that is a positive. And the boyfriend, Doug, I talked with his parents. They are like me, not thrilled but going to be supportive and excited for a grandbaby. They live over an hour away though, but told them I had a spare room they could use when they visit. And Doug, who does work part-time while he's in school, I told him yes, work this semester, but next semester your number one job is to finish your degree no matter what. I am willing to support them both financially and with the baby more than I normally would next semester because I know the best way to ensure my grandbaby has a good life is making sure their dad has his degree and a good job. He seemed to understand and was thankful. Maybe he's not as much of a ding-dong as I thought he was, lol. Too long didn't read? I broke up with Vera and she moved into a friend's. We don't know if it was her, but Maddie's plants have been dying and she's devastated. But the boyfriend is doing good and moving in so he can be a present parent. Comments. Commenter 1. You're a great example to Doug in how to father a child. Commenter 2. Yes, OP is. You are doing a wonderful thing for your daughter and her boyfriend. It's ideal to do things in a certain order, but it doesn't always work out that way. Giving them a place to stay and supporting them and their baby so they can finish school is amazing. OP is my hero dad for today. Commenter 3. Good riddance to Vera. As far as the plants go, I try transplanting them. Remove as much soil as possible from the roots first. Commenter 4. I agree with this as well. Remove soil, being careful. If there's a root ball, shake and poke, then soaking it and gently prodding with a thin stick will help greatly. Rinse it a ton, even the leaves. Hell, leave the roots in just some spring water for a day or two, depending, to help them soak up some water, and then plant them. It'll be a shock to the plants and not all might make it, but Eve had plants come back some seriously awful mistakes and mishaps, so I trust the damage to the plants can be fixed. Reply. This is what she's been doing, but most of the leaves and pictures are destroyed. Commenter 5. I'm sorry, friend. Consider posting in FB plant groups in your area. People are so awesome and giving. I bet the community will come together and help get your daughter some replacements. Reply. Good idea. Stories number 14. Aita for asking husband to stop adjusting openly in public. My husband 60 scratches himself multiple times an hour. I have requested that if he needs to adjust when we are in public to do it behind me or to face me. I have brought this up twice over the course of multiple years. He gets upset and defensive. I don't want to hurt his feelings, but it seems excessive. I should note that I was raised with 4 older brothers and have never seen them, my dad, uncles, teachers, co-workers, etc., ever adjust openly. Should I suggest different underwear? He wears loose cotton boxers? Leave out baby powder or gold bond powder? I don't want to be but not a fan if the adjusting. ETA. He wears loose cotton boxers briefs. He hates to wear anything even slightly snug, shirts, underwear, jeans, etc. Clarify. IWFH. He works with mostly men and sits at a desk most of the time. We don't go out in public together much. Not for any particular reason other than I am a homebody. He didn't do this in the earlier part of our relationship together 15 years. Married 13, this has mostly been in the last 5-ish years. This is definitely adjusting, not itching and not pervy. He says he needs to adjust and should be able to when he needs to. This is not done inside of clothing. I have no problem with his adjusting in public. It's his lack of discretion or being self-aware enough that I have a problem with. I do believe that it is not socially acceptable and can be seen as creepy, for lack of a better word. Comments. Commenter 1. My sister's husband used to have a habit of doing the same. All of our family and friends noticed, and we all talked about how gross it was. We came up with a plan. Every time we were together and he did that, the first to notice would immediately put a hand to our crotch, and others all followed along until we all sat/stood holding our crotch. It didn't go over very well, but the more we did it, the more he realized just how often he was yanking his crotch. He soon stopped his nasty habit, and now he's the first to notice other men who do it. Commenter 2. NTA. A man shouldn't be adjusting his scrotum in public. I personally find it gross and creepy. I am female, and I don't want a man to do that in front of my younger family members. He should try some boxer briefs. I'm not a prude and have worked with plenty of men as a cook in multiple restaurants. I have heard all about sweaty balls from the heat, but never watched a male co-worker adjust himself. Maybe they were doing that in the cooler or walk-in storage. Commenter 3. My husband used to do this. I lost my shit on him several times. I finally told him I won't be seen in public with a man who can't control himself and not touch that way. He hasn't done it with me since. The sad part is he thought he was doing it because he had big balls. I kid you not. I told him he most likely had saggy balls and switched him to briefs. He grew up with, sad to say, white trash men who saw things like this as manly behavior. Spitting and grabbing themselves. I cut that shit quick. Commenter 4. NTA. My guess is his underwear doesn't fit. I work with over 50 blue-collar guys. Probably nearer 100. I never do this. I never see this. There is a guy on a different shift who scratches himself, and he is known as the Claw. Stories number 15. Aita for not rehoming my cats when my baby daddy's new wife is deathly allergic. I 24F have recently got new cats. My daughter 6 has always wanted cats, and she has an obsession with them and frequently says, "All I want in this world are cats." However, baby daddy's 25 new wife 25 is deathly allergic to cats and has been to the hospital once for it. I have multiple friends with cats and my daughter is frequently around them and plays with them, then goes over to baby daddy and wife's house, and there has never been a complaint of allergies. I was told by wife that she would start taking allergy shots and would be good to go in around a month's time. I found the perfect cat sibling pair from an adoption agency in my area, Adopt Don't Shop 3, and with the info on it being about a month, I had a friend agree to watch them in the transition period and would take caution in giving baths, changing clothes, etc. if my daughter did see the cats. Well, yesterday I let them know that she had come in contact with the cats briefly, but she was bathed and put in freshly washed clothes that had not been in the same house as them. I was told to still take her over to her grandparents' house for another rinse off and change of clothes just in case. After dropping her off, I received a call from baby daddy where he told me his wife could no longer get the shots since they just found out she's pregnant, so he would like the cats rehomed or returned to the adoption agency. My biggest concern is for my daughter, and I genuinely believe if the cats were taken from her permanently, it would be traumatic for how long and how badly she's wanted them. Not to mention the resent in her it would cause towards the wife and new baby, and that's just a horrible thing to do after giving a pet a new home after being rescues. Also, I would be effectively blacklisted from all rescues and agencies if I were to do that, and rightly so. I ended up getting another call the day after saying they were in the ER for hours, and spent a bunch of money for the visit and the cats need to be rehomed. But like I said before, my daughter has been around cats many times and gone over there, and there's never been an issue, and I find it hard to believe after 2 baths and clothes changes that it truly caused such a bad reaction that the hospital is necessary. It's also important to note that the 3 of us have not always gotten along, especially since the wife was my best friend for a while before I found out she got with him, so we were on very bad terms for a very long time. So I find it hard to give up something me and my daughter have been so excited, and I've worked so hard to get to a place where we can get them only to be told we can't because of their decision to have a new baby. So they're still asking the cats be given back or rehomed and making me feel like I'm the bad guy. Am I the asshole? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. My first thought was either both or new wife are trying to push this kid out now that new baby is in the way. Reply. So it's actually the opposite. He's now trying to get me to give up my time with her until they figure out what to do, so they don't want her to come over here at all until then, so that she isn't re-exposed and sent back to the hospital after another switch-off week. I told them this is not going to happen as my time with my daughter is the most valuable to me, and they're mad that I won't give her up. I've told them I'm willing to take her as long as needed until they figure it out, but obviously that was not taken well. Commenter 2. Wait a damn minute. So your baby daddy's wife was your ex-best friend? Were they having an affair when you were still with him? Reply. So we were never married, we dated a long time, and there is some speculation they might have been together when we were, however they deny it, but regardless, the same day we broke up they were at her place together that night, and she lied about it, and they've been together ever since, so shady as a friend no matter whether during or not. Commenter 3. You are a much better person than me, or just a soft touch. They have no right to dictate what goes in your home, just like you can't dictate what goes on in their home. I would put this under the category, not my problem. Reply. I've been trying really hard to be nice about it, to not rock the boat since I don't want to deal with the co-parenting when they're mad at me or whatever, but my patience really is wearing thin with how much it seems I'm supposed to just smile and nod, especially when I've been super forgiving and accommodating about the past. I feel it's not fair to villainize me over this. Also, edit to add, they were both aware for a long time the end plan was to get cats ASB. That's why she was going to start the shots. They were not blindsided by this plan, and I told the wife when I got them, and it was fine before they found out about the pregnancy. Edit 2. Since for some reason I have to preface this, this was not in retaliation or out of spite or anything in that way towards wife. We just moved to a place that can have cats we couldn't at previous place, and I have been wanting cats since before I even knew the dad in high school. I do not think about them when I'm not directly speaking to them, so adopting cats was purely for the joy of me and my daughter, not to cause problems. And again, they knew this was happening, and there were no issues and cats were adopted, and they were informed they were before finding out she was pregnant, and the plan was fine then, so it was not me trying to make life harder for wife. Update. I'm not going to be giving many details as it's now going to court. I ended up offering to feed the special food a bunch of y'all suggested for allergies. Thanks again. Use sprays, quarantine clothes, etc., and they told me they are not willing to even try those. The only option is to get rid of them. The wife has now tried and failed. They couldn't find a judge to sign it, lol, to put a restraining order on me that states if I don't get rid of my cats, then I'm banned from seeing and having all contact with my daughter until I do. Obviously, this is wildly excessive, and I have an abundance of evidence and disprove the severity. And her claims I'm trying to harm her on purpose. My daughter let it slip. The wife's parents have cats that my daughter pets when they go to visit. Oops, but even more so when I talked to my psychiatrist about this at our last appointment, she felt that my cats were necessary to my anxiety disorder. We have talked about me getting ESAs for a while now, so she wrote me a note, and they are now officially my legal support animals. This should take care of the restraining order. However, I was also served with papers, as many of you guessed, trying to take my daughter from me. Apparently, the wife has been keeping a calendar of all the days I've had my daughter versus her. She started this calendar before they were even engaged. Wild. To try and show they should get my daughter since they had her more on paper. However, this is due to the fact I was needing to save up some money in order to put down the first and last month's rent, etc. at my new apartment, so she offered to help as much as I need and encouraged me to pick up extra shifts so that I would have my finances in order. She now is using those times she helped against me and saying I can't care for my daughter on my own with the job I have. I'm honestly sick to my stomach that I've tried so hard to be the bigger person, constantly put up with their shenanigans, and crossing boundaries with a smile on my face for the sake of my daughter, all to be once again stabbed in the back by the both of them. They don't really have a case, and I have a lot more on them than they have on me. So I'm not worried, just disappointed that people are truly this evil even after you try to give them the benefit of the doubt. Relevant comments. Why not get a restraining order? I don't know, I have to ask my lawyer, but honestly I'm scared of her for how psychotic she is. She's been trying to build a case to take my daughter away from me for a year, and I've tried to be super nice and let her be involved in planning my daughter's birthday party that I had to have a talk with her afterwards about crossing boundaries that a girlfriend at the time shouldn't. Have offered to take our dogs, my parents' dog and hers, to the dog park together. Invited her to zoo days, etc., all to try and help our relationship, or at least pretend some normalcy for my daughter's sake. The fact that during all of this she's had a smile on her face, and here I am like an idiot thinking, okay, this is doable, I can manage this, only to be hit out of left field that they've been plotting against me the whole time. Truly, it's giving psychotic that she could just do that and not show any guilt. Commenter 1. Custody is between you and baby daddy, not you and new wife. If he wants visitation, that can be arranged outside of their home. The logistics of that is for him to figure out. You aren't responsible. Reply. It's all filed under his name and from him, but I was informed it was her keeping track on her own volition. Commenter 2. She can keep track of whatever she wants. She's not part of the custody agreement, and her allergies don't dictate what you can and can't have in your house. Final update. Aita for not rehoming my cats when my baby daddy's new wife is deathly allergic. Final update. Thank you again, everyone who has commented advice and support. This is going to be quick. We had court, and the judge denied their case and had extremely harsh words for both of them. She told them it's not my responsibility to deal with her allergies at my house. They need to come up with a solution on their end or relinquish his rights to me if it's truly that bad of an issue. She also told stepmom she's not a parent, should never be listed as such, and need to back off. There was a whole lot more, but I'll just leave it with it was thrown out, and I've been validated that I've been more than accommodating when it's not even my problem to deal with and my daughter can keep her cats. Thank you all again. Final comments. How did they respond? Not a peep from them. They went in super confident and talkative at the end, walked out with heads held low. Don't think they expected to be scolded by the judge. Where was the stepmom listed as parent? At the school she listed herself as primary parent. Claims it was an accident after caught in court. Commenter 1. Did this hearing address her calendar? Reply. Yes, he admitted she wrote the whole thing, and it's dated starting when they moved in together, so it just made them look even worse to the judge that it was obviously the wife-girlfriend at the time planting issues and plotting. She asked him if he personally ever kept a calendar before that date, and he said no, so she basically disregarded it from then on. Stories number 16. My sister thought she could pay me below a livable wage to move away from my life and take care of her child. Years ago, after my sister had her first child, she had a hard time with childcare. She lives in the middle of nowhere, an hour outside of her nearest big city. She wanted to hire a nanny to watch her child for 40 hours a week, but not pay them a livable wage. She was complaining to me. I told her I understood her frustration with childcare being expensive, but also was trying really hard to not validate her belief that someone should work full-time in poverty. It really wasn't worth fighting over. Until she said I could move you here from another state for less than that to take care of him. I immediately responded by laughing at her and saying no, you couldn't, and refusing to agree on that point while she sputtered an attempt at a rebuttal. It completely deflated her until she just changed the subject. It was never brought up again. She did eventually find someone. I am child-free by choice. There is no amount of money that would make me become a nanny for her. Edit. I didn't mention the father because this is a summary of a phone conversation he wasn't a part of. I also never said she couldn't afford it, just that she didn't want to pay it. You are all weird for assuming anything else. He works. She works. They needed childcare. It's really not any deeper than her not wanting to pay the necessary costs for childcare. Comments. Commenter 1. The idea that someone who will exclusively watch a child should not be paid enough to live is crazy to me. They will spend 10 to 12 hours a day watching your baby, then go work a second job to afford to live? Is that what she really expects? Reply. Well, her baby was really easy. So yeah, basically. Commenter 2. I truly cannot fathom asking anyone, let alone someone I'm, supposed to love, to uproot their lives to watch my child for basically no money. Reply. Well, knowing my sister, it's because she doesn't respect me as a person. Commenter 3. I'm a teacher. My sister wanted me to move, with my husband and son, to live near her. She lives in an area where housing costs double what we pay. My husband and I would have each taken a 10K pay cut and spent 45 to 60 minutes in traffic instead of 15 to arrive at work. Also, instead of a nice home with a pool, yard, several bedrooms, and an office, we would have only been able to afford an apartment or townhome with no yard, spare bedroom, or office. 2 bedrooms, and that's it. All this so we could watch her kids for free, after school and on weekends. Her kids, by the way, are demonic. One is in 3rd grade and needs pull-ups at night, and they are biters. They don't shower, pee outside the toilet, and have 1 volume, wailing banshee. I didn't speak to my sister for several months after that request, and my initial response was, "You've got to be kidding, right?" Which she didn't appreciate. She made my parents the same offer. She's furious because they're looking for homes near me and not her. Edit. To add, my sister and her husband make mid-6 figures and can easily afford childcare, but expected my family to give up our quality of life so she could save a few bucks. Stories number 17. Aita for refusing to pay my friends back for dinner. Myself, 2 other guys, and 3 girls went out to eat at a steakhouse today. Not a date type of thing at all. Simply grabbing food after hanging out. The 2 guys both got 16-ounce steaks while I opted for a more modest 8-ounce. The girls all got food as well as alcohol, which we all know runs pretty expensive at restaurants. When we were finished eating, the waiter came over and asked if we wanted split checks. Before anyone could think about it or consult, my one friend immediately said, "Nah, just 1 check." The girls looked pretty shocked, and I just looked over with a WTF dude kind of face. The other friend is kind of shy and just went along with what the first guy said. The tab came out to be $164, and the guy who opted for 1 check didn't even have enough funds on his card to pay for it. So the other guy paid, and we would Venmo him back. Even after this, the girls insisted on paying us back for the food, and were pretty firm about it. But guy number 1 continued to shut them down and kept saying, "Nah, we got it. It's nighttime now, and he's demanding me to Venmo $55 to cover my share of the tab." I explained how it wasn't fair that he essentially volunteered me to pay for their food. I got the least expensive meal out of the 6 of us, and yet I'm paying as if I ordered half the menu. I'm getting shit for it, and being told to just suck it up and pay. Oh, and by the way, we're all college students. Personally, I'm paying back loans as we speak and working part-time. I intentionally order smaller meals at restaurants and rarely go out. Now I'm expected to just throw $55 out the window for no reason. Comments. Commenter 1. What kind of steakhouse is only $164 for 6 people, with alcohol? That's cheap AF. NTA. Dude was trying to impress girls with money he didn't even have. Commenter 2. NTA. Visit the steakhouse's online menu. Look at the cost of your items. Add in taxes and a generous tip, and Venmo your ex-friend that amount. Commenter 3. You don't volunteer other people to pay for food they didn't eat. Venmo him exactly as much as you would have paid originally, and say it was so nice of him to cover the ladies on his own. Commenter 4. Only 164.00 for two 16-ounce steaks, an 8-ounce steak, whatever 2 entrees the girls got, and alcohol. What kind of steakhouse was this? NTA for not helping pay for the girls' meals, but you should Venmo the cost of your meal. Stories number 18. My boyfriend 33M and I 32F had one bad night. Out with friends, and now the girlfriends are icing me out. Any advice? My boyfriend 33M and I 32F have been dating now for about 6 months. We had plans to go to a poker night/group hang on a Saturday. A little background. I work full-time and work some Saturdays, and these plans were made last minute and required my boyfriend to override our plans to go to these. Anyway, I took all my dogs to work with me for labs, and whatever, I'm a vet tech, and basically all 4 got diagnosed with something, one being cancer. I was obviously upset, and I called my boyfriend, and we decided he would wait for me to be home, and we would go to said poker night together. Fast forward about 2 hours, and he's getting picked up by his buddy 40M and his girlfriend 38F, and I had no knowledge. So I called a couple times to ask what the new plans are, which according to the friend's girlfriend, stressed him out. I went about my shift, and towards the end they were all calling me and asking when I was coming, and I just replied, not sure, still at work. On my way home I called my boyfriend, and just simply said, hey, I'm not feeling like it's a good idea for me to go out. I'm kind of not in a good headspace, and I don't think I'll have fun, to which he replied by saying things like, you can't always stay home all the time, and you need friends, and you need to hang with the girls, kind of dismissing my feelings. So I just said, whatever dude, I'm going home. I get home, and he texts me that an Uber will be picking me up. And I call, and I'm like, I told you I don't want to go. He accused me of being a petty bitch, but did say I didn't have to go, but staying home is stupid. I went back and forth and decided to ultimately go, which wasn't the right choice, I've learned, but I'm thinking if I didn't go it would have been the same outcome. I wasn't a fun time. Everyone was drunk when I got there, tired and sober from work. I was sad about my dogs, and just generally in a meh mood. My boyfriend texted me that an Uber would pick me up, but didn't specify time, so I texted a few times to see when, then called, and then was like, welp, I guess I'll just go wait outside for the Uber and see when it shows up. Fast forward to now, a month later, I'm hearing that his friends had a bad first impression of me and that I need to do better, but also I seem to cause drama, and because I called my boyfriend to inquire about the Uber and was not pleased about the last-minute change of timing with getting together, that I'm being iced out, and they'll tolerate me, but only because of my boyfriend. They also think it's weird that we spend time doing things together when we have time off, and they think I'm telling him not to go out with them, which is not true. I encourage it, but he chooses to stay home or work overtime as money hungry. I guess I'm at a loss for what to do. I'm worried this'll affect my relationship in the long run, as they seem to have this almost weird cult-like behavior where they can get my boyfriend to do whatever by just giving him shit about it enough. More backstory. All of his other friends like me, it's this one circle of more original/older friendships that think I'm an issue. Comments. Commenter 1. I had to double check the ages here because your BF and his friends are acting like they are in their early 20s. WTF, did he know your dog had cancer diagnosis before getting drunk? What an immature group of AHs. Including your BF. Seriously, think long and hard if this is the guy you want to be with. Reply. They are literally adult women and men acting like children, and they seem to be unable to handle the fact that I'm level-headed with a career and aspirations, and I want to spend time with my partner. None of the wives/girlfriends work. Reply. Commenter 1. Sounds like a group of people that peaked in high school, honestly. They aren't worth time even thinking about. Reply. Honestly, I'd love to think that, but they don't seem like they've peaked anywhere. Commenter 2. The point is that they don't matter. It's him that chooses to continue to have a friendship with them when they suck. He wasn't drunk when he decided to head to his friend's house without you. And if that's how he acts when he's drunk, then EW. The point is, he's 32 years old, and let his friends peer pressure him into being an asshole for no reason. None of this is a them problem, because when you're in your 30s, you should have figured out that just because you've been friends with people for a long time, doesn't mean you need to continue the friendships when it becomes so toxic that he can't even bring his girlfriend around. Apologizing is fine, I guess, but for me, actions speak a whole lot louder than words. Reply: I am hoping that this recent turn of events and letting him read the messages I was receiving from the group of girls, so he knew 10,000% I wasn't making anything up, is going to open his eyes. He did use the term, they sound a goddamn cult. And Kay was like, yeah, your friends are a goddamn cult of toxic behavior, and they're mad you might leave them. Commenter 3. So your BF and his friend group sound like assholes. And his assholery has gone on for a month now about this one night? Why are you even with him? They don't sound like good people. Reply: ugh, I know. It's the only time he's ever acted this way towards me. This particular group is very toxic, it seems. He never had previous girlfriends co-mingle with them before. And the one time he did, one friend and her didn't get along, so he stopped talking to him while they were together. Stories number 19. Supervisor didn't realize he'd answered my call. I overheard him dissing me to another employee. I 28F have a coworker, Darren 32M, who I thought I had a good working relationship with, but I guess not. He is the field supervisor, not my supervisor, and I work in the office of a small cleaning company. We must work closely together via call, text, and meeting because of him being the super and me being the main dispatcher. I use my personal cell, and always have, as do many people at this company. It is on the owner's direction for work communications, and the other phone I have is the main office landline. I had asked him about something work-related around 11 a.m., and when he had not said anything by 1 p.m. I called him, and I heard him struggling to get his phone to connect to his truck's Bluetooth. He clearly did not hear me saying, hello, Darren, can you hear me? And then I clearly heard him say, to our young new hire he had in his truck, she always fucking does this. Just call me off the damn work phone. She is so bad at this, fucking always calling me, for fuck's sakes. So annoying. I was crestfallen, hung up, waited a few minutes, and then called him back. He picked up with his usual nicey nice tone, and I kept it fairly professional and got the information I originally needed. I then said, you knew I could hear you, right? And he said, huh? I explained to him, firmly but politely, that as per company rules, I called him off my cell phone so as to keep the customer line landline free, and that if he has an issue with that, to please schedule an appropriate time for a meeting with me as per my office hours, and that I would love to loop in the general manager for that meeting, so I will be sure to get it on the books ASAP. He kind of stuttered out something about how he isn't sure what I was talking about, and how my phone is hard to hear. This has never been mentioned before. I brought this to the GM, and she was appalled by his lack of professionalism, too. I have to have a sit down with her and HR next time HR has open office time. I don't want him to get in trouble, but if he has been talking smack about me to the other techs, it explains why everyone has seemingly been colder to me in the last 6 months, especially new hires. I really love my job, and I try my best to be sweet and helpful and on the ball, so it really feels like a gut punch to hear how the supervisor really feels. The update isn't super big, but I am beyond frustrated. I spoke with the GM, who took it to the HR lady. They did not consult me at all, nor did they provide an update to me after the meeting. I had to ask my GM this morning to please provide me with an update. She told me that the HR lady wants to talk to Darren, but since she only works once a week, this won't be resolved/addressed for at least another week, maybe 2. For now, they have asked me to cease cell-based communications with the supervisor, which is very hard because the main work phone is not only the direct customer line, so it is typically busy, but is very antiquated. Being able to call and text the supervisor is pretty integral to my job. I feel as though I am being punished for being belittled and mocked by Darren. When my GM told me this, I told her that I would wait, but that I think this is a ridiculous situation and impedes my ability to do my job. Am I overreacting? Underreacting? What would you do in this scenario? Stories number 20. Came home, and so is gone. Longtime lurker and occasional commenter of this great sub, but using a throwaway because my paranoia is at an all-time high right now. I have great OPSEC, but also haven't seemed to need it because my wife works all the time, and we do have a great sex life, so I would be shocked if she even suspected I was doing what I was doing. That's why I'm losing my shit right now. I come home from work yesterday, and usually my wife gets home about 30 minutes after I do. When I realized it's getting late, I called and got no answer. I check our room, and her things are gone. She left the house completely untouched, just took all her clothes, but left no note. I can't get in touch with her through phone, email, her friends won't answer. She must know, right? Which why wouldn't she ask me? Who finds out and just leaves? Is it possible she doesn't know and left for someone else? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Let her go. You are fucked. She will contact with your next instructions. Likely will be served soon. Reply, divorce papers you mean? Commenter 2, yes, divorce papers. That home is her marital asset. You better start researching now. That home will be evenly divided as an asset. Reply, didn't she technically abandon the home? How can she serve me? Commenter 3, because she and her attorney will force an equitable division of marital assets. You better do some homework. Commenter 4, she for sure knows. Reply, I know now she knows. She has known for months. She's been more deceitful about knowing than I have about doing it, and maybe that's why I'm so fucking angry. I can't even have interest in my AP now, fuck. Commenter 5, take ownership, you fucked up. Your wife prepared to protect herself. Reply, I am taking ownership, but I'm posting on a sub for adultery. Not like I'm claiming it was okay for me to cheat. I just happen to think cheating isn't the only shitty thing you can do to someone. Reply, this is not what I want. How do I not go through this? I wouldn't have done it if I thought she'd find out. Sorry, I'm just desperate. I have to fix it because fuck, I need to know how she even found out. Commenter 6, okay, what did you think would happen if, when she found out? Were you disappointed that she didn't scream and cry and play the pick-me game? She found out and decided it was a deal breaker on her end. You got off easy. No arguing, screaming, crying. No therapy or MC to sit through and pay for. Probably took those months to stash some cash, find a place or another guy. Don't think there is any fixing this. Reply, maybe a little. Don't know why I felt that way. But yeah, I guess I wanted to see some kind of reaction. I know it doesn't make sense, but it's just how I feel. She makes most of the money, so that's another fucking kick in the nuts. I'll basically have to ask her for some kind of support to keep living the kind of lifestyle we've been living. I wish she would fight me. Seems like she's willing to let everything go, including her own money, just to avoid me, and it's making me feel like I don't know her. Small update in comments. I did have great OPSEC. I found out what happened now from her mom. One of my wife's interns works a second job at the hotel where AP and I met. 3 towns away. But my wife had a picture of us on her phone screen, so she recognized me. After that, I guess, she called my wife the next we were there, and my wife stopped in to confirm then left. What's getting to me is that this was in March. I never saw any changes in her. Edit. I guess after writing this my OPSEC wasn't great. Shouldn't have stayed at the same place more than once. Final update. I had no idea this would get so much input, but it has helped and I appreciate it. I've been here a while, but this was my first time posting, and it has helped me vent and process. So thank you. Also, if I'm being honest, I'm sure that the attention or engagement has helped me cope a little. I finally talked to my wife this afternoon. I've been in our house since Thursday night by myself, pretty much clueless as to what was going on until her mother, who she has very little contact with, reached out to me. I was caught. I have been caught since March. Wife texted me today saying she had intended to contact me through a lawyer and just let the divorce do the talking, but since her mother decided to contact me, she would answer any questions I had if I had a desire to speak to her. Clearly I did. I asked her why she stayed around after she knew and how she just lied to me like that. She said it wasn't her intention, but she shut down to figure out what she needed to do regarding our relationship and herself. At the end, she said something like she realized she still loves me, but doesn't respect me, and she said she thinks that I love her, but don't respect her either, so we should go our separate ways. She already got her job to move her to the city she's been asking me to move to for a long time now, and said she'd like to sell me her half of the house if I want it, if not we can list it. But I guess our lawyers will handle that paperwork, and I still have no idea if I want our house without her in it. I'm glad I talked to her, but I'm sad at how moved on she is. She did cry a little, but then stopped. I asked for therapy, and she said I should have asked for that when I realized I had impulse control issues. I've been drinking for 48 hours now, and sorry for the rant. I don't think it's losing her that's hurting, but losing like this. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'm truly sorry for all involved in this, but I just have to say she made a bad ass exit. That sounds like some Beyonce shit. Reply. Okay. I could understand her leaving, but her leaving without a word is almost not human. Nothing badass about it. It's not who she is either. She's sweet, and that's why I love her. Her being cold like this is not going to make me want or respect her more. Commenter 2. Your reaction to this whole scenario is ridiculous. You cheated. You got caught. You gambled and lost this round. Unfortunately, your soon-to-be ex-wife doesn't owe you any more respect or loyalty than what you've shown toward her. I also think you have a lot of nerve to call her behavior sociopathic. The fact that she was immediately done without wanting to attempt reconciliation makes me think you may have not been the greatest husband yourself. It sounds like she has no reason to fight for you or your relationship. It's done. You have proven to her that you aren't the type of partner she wants, and apparently, she wasn't the one for you either. Once things have settled, this would be a good time to self-reflect on what you actually want out of a relationship, and if monogamy or yin is more your thing. Stories number 21. My fiancée 26F and I 27M decided to break up, but she couldn't move out due to the lockdown. After about 4 months isolating with her, I've realized I don't want to break up anymore. My fiancée and I have been dating since college, and as soon as we graduated, I proposed to her. However, we decided to get married only once we're both financially stable and okay with our jobs. 2 years down the road, we've also been living together for that long. We now meet those requirements. However, our love for each other disappeared. Or at least the spark we used to have. We became very busy. Her with her graduate education plus job, and me with my work. I admit I've been spending way too much time in the office, and once I get home, I use my free time to get ahead with deadlines and stuff. She's also constantly stressed as she's juggling her education and her teaching job. We never had time for each other anymore, but we were still busy enough to even notice that. Then March came. She approached me with the subject, and we had a long talk. It was an emotional one. We've known each other for so long after all, and we were reaching our end after so many years. She was already in the process of booking flights to stay with her parents for a while when the lockdown was announced. She decided to not go home anymore in fear of possibly carrying the virus and infecting her family. I agreed with that decision, and since then we've been isolating together. We're both working from home now, and she also finished her studies on April. Because of that, we've been having a lot of free time. At first, it felt a bit awkward. I didn't even know how to talk to her anymore. I got used to short and empty small talk with her. But she's always known how to get me out of my shell, so it didn't take too long before we were having full conversations once again. I just found out that she's had a newfound love for playing Sims 4. She showed me the family she was playing with currently, and I noticed that it was herself and me, plus a dog and a cat whose names were our birth months. LOL. She had been so shy initially, but she doesn't know that I was also feeling flustered then. I think this is the start of me questioning our decision to break up. After that, it was the small things. I also caught her up on how my life has been, like my SHTTY supervisor, how I haven't been taking care of my health lately, etc. And since then she started pushing me to work out with her, and she's also been trying to get me into healthier options of food. I also came to find out new things about her in these months, which is surprising considering how we've been together for many years now. These past few months have been really good. I felt like I was brought back to the times when we first met, and I feel like a high schooler with a crush. The thing is, I'm not sure if I can trust my feelings right now. The only person I've had contact with was her except for my frequent calls with family and friends, and I may be just having an infatuation right now. I also think we're lucky since we're both very free right now. But I keep thinking, what happens after the lockdown ends? Will we go back to being those busy people that have too little time for each other? I also don't know how to approach her with this. She's always been the talker in our relationship, you know. But at the same time, I'm also afraid to talk about it and potentially ruin things for us right now. What if she doesn't feel the same? What if she's just treating me kindly because that's what she is, a genuinely kind person? The only hope I'm holding on to right now is the fact that she hasn't planned on going back to her family, yet despite domestic travels being allowed in our country now. How do I go on about this? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I think maybe try it while y'all are talking or playing a game or doing something together. Just say, I don't think I want to break up anymore. And that should get the conversation started. Reply. Oh boy. I've honestly tried so many times to try and bring it up. We were playing Sims once, and in my head I was yelling at myself to ask why she made our family in that game. But I could never get the words out. Instead I just went silent the whole time while she talked. Sigh. Commenter 2. Not to put too fine a point on it, but you not talking to her was a big part of the problem in the first place. Update. So the day after posting that, nothing really happened. I spent that day reflecting on what kind of future I see and want with her. I also thought a lot about the past, how we messed it up, how we both got too lost in our jobs, etc. In my original post, I asked if what I'm feeling could be just an infatuation that would go as quickly as I came. But I realized that my feelings for her never really disappeared to begin with. It's like my heart just went in a deep sleep and I forgot how much feelings I carry for her. I think some of you may know and have pointed out that I'm not really good at communicating my feelings. I tend to keep things to myself, and my fiancé is one of the few people who can be patient with that. Some suggested to write a letter instead, or a note, or marry her in Sims. I ended up with drafts of sappy letters that I ended up scraping in a sad attempt to recreate us in The Sims. But still, I wanted to make an effort to show her what I couldn't say through words. I've heard about her wanting a few DLCs in The Sims in the past, so I had the idea to buy a few for her. Sims DLCs are pretty expensive, especially in our currency. Surprised her by stealing her laptop for a few hours, and once I gave it back to her, she was elated and so happy. It was really nice seeing her get so excited over it. We played together that whole day and tried to solve the mystery in Stranger Villa game pack in The Sims. It was so fun. The next day, I found her in the kitchen trying to bake something. It was a blueberry cheesecake recipe she saw on YouTube. I basically became her cooking assistant that day, helping her as much as I could, and we ended up with a pretty decent outcome that I bet would have tasted better if I hadn't messed up so much. She still said she had so much fun and loved the cheesecake though. The next day, which is just yesterday, something important happened. We were basically just snuggled up on the couch playing when our Sims just autonomously tried for baby in the bed. It was hilarious and we initially laughed about it, but then we got pretty silent. She then closed her laptop and hugged me tightly then, without saying anything. I think that was my realization that, oh, she feels the same as I do. So I knew I had to speak up. I'm still impressed at myself for managing to talk yesterday without choking up, basically opening up the conversation like, are you planning to go to your parents soon? And she said no, she doesn't feel like it yet. I asked her why. She told me she wanted to stay. I told her I wanted her to stay too. We went to sleep that night, just huddled together. And even though we didn't really explicitly say it, I think we're now aware of each other's feelings, and it feels like a really huge improvement to me. Earlier we ate breakfast together. We weren't as chatty as we've been the last few months, but the silence was comforting. We also watched Knives Out together. We haven't had the conversation yet, but I'm going to bring it up to her tonight. I'm really glad this whole ordeal went much nicer than I expected it would, and I'm relieved I didn't let my doubts get the best of me. Though I still have to get better with how I communicate things, I'm going to learn for her. TLDR, we both feel the same towards each other. We're yet to have the talk, but I know now, without a doubt, that she still loves me too. Final update. Okay, hi. I posted this thinking the same people who saw my last post would respond, and seeing that a few users wanted an update back then, I thought, what the hell, why not give them a little update right now and leave it at that? Now I have 5x more the audience I had the last time. Right now my fiancé is sleeping next to me. Yes, we had the talk. As soon as I posted this, I logged out and gathered myself, so I can tell her what's been in my mind for months. It's not really something so exciting. We basically just sat down together and talked about what went wrong before. I told her the things I said in my last post, and she admitted to worrying about what happens after the lockdown gets fully lifted too. We both acknowledged that we worked too hard to become financially stable so that we can get married. Right now, though, all we could do is promise and talk about how we're going to manage our time better. Since we have no idea if our country is ever going to return to normal, the curve is not getting flattened at all, and the quarantine is about to get extended again. And then we talked about our feelings. I got to tell her I love her again, for the first time in years probably, and she told me the same. After that it was back to a lighter conversation. We basically just bonded until she fell asleep. I honestly thought only a handful of people would see my post. I made sure to use Reddit because this isn't really a big platform in our country, and I was sure she wouldn't see this post. But now that there are like 20k upvotes as I'm typing this, I think she might stumble upon this post sooner or later. Well then, I know she's going to be whining a lot about this, but she'd be glad to know that a lot of people found our relationship wholesome. Thank you all for the kind comments. I know some people are thinking, why haven't you just talked to her in the first place, but getting some perspective from other people really did help give a push. I think if I left myself alone with the thoughts I was having, things would have gone a lot worse, so I'm really grateful. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the awards I received since this is just a throwaway account though, but it's still cool. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can and then log out. Thank you again. Final comments. Commenter 1. Beautiful. So happy for you. Please, remember this story later in your life. I've been married for over 10 years. There are times like this in every long-term relationship, when you just aren't feeling the same level of connection and love for each other. It could be because you're too busy or because you have some kind of significant trial that gets in the way. You can avoid some of these barriers, but not all of them. You have to agree to stay together through some lows, knowing that your relationship has the strength to come back. You have to be deliberate about making ways to build your connection and show love for each other. You have to agree to be kind to each other, to always see each other as beautiful human beings, even when you don't feel the same level of connection. If you can do that, you have the capacity to have a beautiful, rewarding, long-term relationship. Wishing you the best. Reply, thank you for this. When we broke up, we really thought it was for the best. It was a mutual thing. We talked about this earlier, and she admitted that she felt guilty since she was the one who brought it up, so she thought she was responsible for our breakup. I made sure to tell her that's not the case. I can see now that we both didn't try hard enough. I know other people have had it hard during this quarantine, but I guess we're really lucky that we found a way to turn this bad thing into an eye-opening experience for the both of us. Stories number 22. Don't get your panties in a twist. I'll be gone in 5 minutes anyway. The year is 2001. It's 8 a.m., and I'm late to the first class of the day with a professor that hates my guts. The pressure is real, and I am getting my student shitbox car out of the underground garage only to find the exit blocked by a black Nissan X-Trail. Based on the pristine condition of its paint, the poor thing had most likely never left town, and the worst obstacle it had surmounted was the curb it was now proudly blocking. Out of the vehicle steps out a creature the locals, this is south of France, call a cagole. For those of you too lazy to look it up, picture bleached blonde hair with a solid 5 cm of dark roots showing, skin so tan it looks like leather, a wide open mouth full of chewing gum, with a Gauloise Caporal cigarette somehow precariously stuck in the corner of her mouth. Granted, I could have reacted more politely, but a combination of stress, sleeplessness, and general frustration to the fact that it was the third time in 5 days that somebody had decided to ignore the big underground parking door studded with 3-0 parking signs got the better of me, and I honked and yelled, asking her to move her car. Now, please. Thank you. All I got in return was a finger and the scream, don't get your panties in a twist now, asshole. I'll be gone in 5 minutes anyway, so chill. Before she disappeared in one of the nearby businesses. 5 minutes pass. No sign of the cagole. 5 more minutes. Nothing. Another 5. Surprisingly enough, still nothing. At this point, I am guaranteed to miss the start of my class, and am already looking forward to the stern and condescending scolding of the professor. I am delighted. My mood is improving by leaps and bounds, and I resign myself to the obvious. The lady is not coming back anytime soon, and my only 2 choices left are either to somehow convince her to move her car or get it towed away. Since I had not been the most civil during first interaction with her, I decide to mend my way, enter the premises she disappeared in 15 minutes ago, and find her sitting cozily with a cup of coffee and another cigarette doing small talk. If looks could kill, I would have been reduced to atoms on the spot. She answered my question with a colorful "fuck off, you little shit. Can't you see I'm working here? Piss off. I'll be done in half an hour anyway. So what are you complaining about? Get the fuck out of here." She actually did come out 30 minutes later and would have escaped the tow truck had it not been for her 4 fully deflated tires. So instead, she spent 15 minutes working on her tan next to her car before the police removed it and gave her a ticket for illegal parking and another ticket for disorderly conduct and disrespect for the police force. It's never a good idea to swear and curse at cops. Also, to this day, I still wonder if she noticed the potato I squeezed in her exhaust pipe. Stories number 23. I defended a female coworker when a male manager humiliated her. I changed job because of this, while she ended up in bed with him. I feel like a clown. So what I am about to say happened 2 years ago. I 34M had a younger woman in my team. I was her manager. Young like late 20s, but still the youngest. And she had a pretty impressive conflict with the manager of the whole department. It's difficult to explain because he was not her or mine superior. But he had way more influence than we did. They had a call, and he treated her like trash. He had always been a narcissist and arrogant middle-aged dude. He was like 43. The kind who has to go jogging every morning and came late to every meeting because of this, and no one ever told him a thing. He yelled at her and called her stupid. She told him to respect her and was really the first one to ever step up against him. But after the call, she cried. She was very sensitive. I knew it's not my best interest or my team's to report him to HR, but I did it because someone from my team was treated like that. Also, if she was a man, I doubt he would talk to her like he did. I was near her the whole time. He tried to dominate her. She was young, pretty, and very sensitive. Everyone described her as a very sweet person. Never had any conflict with anyone. No one expected her to report him, as no one else has ever did before. It was a huge scandal, and he had to apologize. So 2 years went by. Because of this scandal and other factors, not just this, I started looking for another job. But I kept in touch with some of my old co-workers, and we are friends. And I was told that this woman I have defended from the guy ended up hooking up with him several times this winter. She was fired or resigned. No one knew for sure because she just left without a word. He stayed but moved to another department in an even higher position. I am just so sad and needed to get it out because I tried hard to do her justice. I don't know what advice I need, just to discuss this and feel better about myself, lol. My current job is good, but I don't earn as much as I did there. Stories number 24. No chemistry between the bride and groom. Went to a friend's wedding earlier this year. They're known for having their own problems and being toxic, but it all seemed to calm down within the last year after their engagement, which we thought was a good sign. Their ceremony went terribly. When the bride walked down the aisle and got to the altar, they stared at each other for a bit before the bride put her hands out and did the baby hand grab motion, so he'd hold her hands. During the ring exchange, she asked for his hand again while saying her vows, but when it was the groom's turn, he did not grab her hands and just held her ring with his hands by his side, awkwardly reciting the vows. The worst was when it was time for the kiss. After their first kiss as husband and wife, the husband almost comically makes a disgusted expression and wipes the lip gloss from his mouth with the back of his hand. It was awful to witness, but the bride just threw her head back laughing like it was the funniest thing. The reception itself was fun. Great music and dancing. Couldn't help but notice the bride was dancing by herself with friends while the groom was doing his own thing. We had to say goodbye to the bride and groom separate since they were not together, and when we got to the groom, I made the joke, "Your bride's having a lot of fun dancing out there." To which the groom says, "Oh yeah, she can do her own thing out there, and I'm doing my thing." Which sounds off to me cause who wants to do their own thing at their literal wedding. What works for them definitely doesn't work for me, but no way could you feel they really loved each other. Stories number 25. Workplace revenge. Just seen a post whereby someone was getting annoyed that a coworker kept leaving early, even though it didn't affect them. Made me think of what happened to me some time ago. Worked in a large office with multiple departments. Each department could choose whether they wanted to have flexi time or not. Most chose to have this option. The core hours were 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., so everyone needed to be in the office during this time. The phone lines were open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So long as there was phone cover the hour before and the hour after core time, no one minded how people managed their flexi. Living the furthest away, I chose after making sure it was okay to come in at 8 a.m. every day and leave at 4 p.m. so that I could avoid the worst of rush hour traffic. I had been working these hours for the better part of 4 years, and no one had a problem with it. Until I changed departments. Despite there always being cover-up until 6 p.m., most days office was open 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. My coworkers had a problem with me being the only one leaving at 4. They complained constantly to the department manager. He gave them the option of leaving early if they wanted, setting up a rota of people leaving early, basically any workable solution that was feasibly possible. Nope, nothing was acceptable. None of my coworkers wanted to leave early unless there was an emergency, DRS appointment, etc., so if they chose to stay until 5 p.m., then I should also fit in with the team and do the same. Exhausted, my manager spoke to me and said he'd tried everything, but they just wouldn't back down. I asked if I could move to another department that didn't mind me leaving at 4, but he gave me a piece of information which made me smile, and I decided to stay. I asked if he wouldn't mind batting them off for the next couple of weeks because I had a plan. Team meeting was held after a couple of weeks to discuss working hours, and I sat back and allowed my coworkers to get themselves worked up. I decided to throw in a few comments here and there to rile them up some more, and when I thought it was the right moment, I held my hands up and conceded defeat. I asked the team if they prefer I work 9 to 5. They all agreed. Giving a quick look to my manager, I repeated that we should all work the same hours, considering their argument was that I was the only one leaving early. Unanimous agreement. So I suggested that we should all, as a team, work 9 to 5. Enthusiastic nodding. Starting from tomorrow. Silence. My manager spoke up saying that was a wonderful idea and was a brilliant solution. He'd put it in place immediately so that we could all come off flexi time and as a department, all work the same hours, which is what the team wanted in the first place. Now is a good time to mention that there was a worldwide sporting event taking place at the time. Living in the UK, but not being British, I didn't feel the need to follow the UK teams. The event was being held abroad, so due to time differences, some of the games were played in the morning, UK time, meaning that my coworkers could watch the games and still be in at work by 10 a.m. I piped up to remind my team that this meant I would no longer be the only one covering the phones from 9 to 10, and phew, yes. They conveniently forgot that they left me to answer the phones for that hour pretty much every day since me starting on the team. What a relief, because the phones did get busy first thing in the morning. One colleague tried to speak up, but my manager reminded them that this is what they've been asking for all along, that the whole team worked the same hours. Oh yes. This was also the time to mention that seeing as I couldn't leave early anymore, there was no need to work through my lunch break, something I offered to placate them, and I didn't used to have lunch that often back then. Flexi meant that people had the choice to take 2 hours for lunch, and I'd offered to cover the phones when the games were on, so I'd stop doing that. Otherwise, I'd be worn out working flat out until 5. That meant that the quarter and semi-finals they had planned to watch, which so happened to be played over UK lunchtime in our office, were showing on the large screen in the main conference room, would only have a restricted viewing time of 1 hour now. I announced that I could see I was being selfish for being the only one to leave early, and I was pleased to fit in with everyone else by working 9 to 5. That also meant that I wouldn't be signing off the payments from the previous day, something I would do between 8 to 9 when it was nice and quiet, albeit that I chose not to remind them of that. But I did like seeing the look on their faces when they realized they had extra work to do the following morning. Work that they should have been doing in the first instance again, something I volunteered to do to try to placate them. Oh, and that information that my manager gave me in our meeting 2 weeks prior? In a cost-cutting exercise, my office was relocating to another one which happened to be a lot closer to where I lived. So ultimately the removal of flexi time worked in my favor, as it meant I could then walk to and from work. Oh, it was difficult not to pull a smug face when the relocation was announced. I think the British term, "don't piss on your chips," definitely applied here. Stories number 26. Friend asked how I was and didn't like the answer. So this happened a while ago, and while I find it kind of funny now with everything calmed down, it was really unfortunate set of events. Basically, I went to a career school and had a friend in my main course who also sat next to me for some of our regular classes. So we knew each other a decent bit, and while not close, we were friends. Well, one day I come into class, and I'm kinda just not really interacting with much he's saying, and he then pulls out the good old, "All right, who died?" card jokingly. I kinda paused, stared at him blankly for a long moment before just saying deadpan, "My great uncle." I have never seen someone go into the shocked Pikachu meme face before so fast. He did apologize, but it was weird for the rest of the class period because it was before class started and I sat right next to him. Unfortunately for us, both my family was having a bad year that school year, and he asked me the same question less than a month later. Once again, blank stare, deadpan, my other great uncle. For context, it was one on my mom's side, and then one on my dad's side who passed away. He quit asking me after that. Stories number 27. Ex-husband tried to talk to me while I was on stage, an annoyed rant. I share a daughter with a man. We are not together, and I have had primary custody of our child since birth. He sees her usually once a fortnight. However, I am part of an acting troupe, and when I started, I asked if X would like to take daughter for the duration of the rehearsal, since the location is near his work. He agreed, a bit reluctantly, because our daughter had been complaining about not seeing him enough. This goes on without any problems for some time until last night, when he doesn't arrive to take our child. I call him. He says he was running late, but he would be there in 45 minutes. Mind, this is a 2-hour class. I set her up in the audience and tell her to be quiet and watch while Mummy practices with her friends. Fast forward to roughly 45 minutes later, I'm on stage, running a scene with a teammate, when X enters and goes up to our child. She picks up her coat and starts to go with him, and I make eye contact with him from the stage. This should have been the end of this interaction. He should have taken our daughter and brought her back at the normal time. But this man decided to talk to me, while I was actively on stage and acting. He said, "I'm sorry I'm late. I had to get a new battery put in the Jeep." Taken aback, I just looked at him and said, "Okay." And I tried to get back into my scene, but this strange interaction discombobulated me, and I completely forgot where we were in the scene. There was a solid 3 beats of silence before I stuttered, "Did you get the Jeep?" Which made no sense in the slightest. The other actor on stage with me had her wits about her and quickly fed me a line. and then we continued on, but that threw me off so badly. The whole rehearsal went poorly for me because I was distracted by my feeling like I needed to keep an eye on my child, and then that outrageous interruption. There was absolutely no reason to do that, other than to trip me up. It was such a strange and out-of-pocket thing to do, and so unnecessary. I'm just bothered by it.